Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to the April 27th, 2021 regular school board meeting, and I thank each of you for being here today. I noticed that we have quite a contingent with pretty blue shirts on that say Our Choice with a graphic on it, so I thought I would go ahead and start the meeting by letting you know that it is our intent for our board to have a work session agended item regarding masks in Polk County Public Schools at our May 11th workshop. So I wanted to just let everybody know ahead of time that that is being discussed. So we thank you for being here tonight, but I wanted to go on record and tell you we will have a workshop on it on May 11th. Now I would like to ask Mrs. Kay Fields if she would give our invocation, and I ask you to please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Most Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for life and for health and for strength. And Father, we pray that you would bless everyone that's assembled here today, and that whatever decisions we make today would be in the best interest of our children. Father, we thank you for every employee that we have. Thank you for our students and our families, and we thank you for our leadership team. We just thank you, Father. You are so good and so worthy to be praised. And Father, as we get ready to deliberate on our next superintendent of schools, we pray that you would bless us and that you will help us to make the best decision again for our students. And Lord, we're going to be mindful to give you all the honor. You're going to get all the glory. You're going to get all the praise. And all these things we ask in your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And now I would like to ask Miss Sarah Fortney if you would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and you may be seated. The first item today is to accept the agenda. Mrs. Byrd, are there any revisions to the agenda as printed?
Yes, there is. There's one revision. Item K3, remove item approval, ratification of final agency order. That concludes the revisions for today.
Thank you, Mrs. Byrd. So the chair will entertain a motion to accept the agenda for April 27th, 2021 with the noted revisions. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. The next item today is our special recognitions. Mrs. Byrd, would you be so kind and lead us through our recognitions today?
With pleasure. First, I'd like to ask School Board Member Dr. William Allen to step forward for special recognitions. At this time, would Lynn Wilson please read the Child Abuse Month Proclamation? Tracy Gray, Chief Community Relations Officer, Heartland for Children, and Donna Ringer, Director of Specialty Services, Peace River Center, will accept the Child Abuse Prevention Month Proclamation. If they would please come forward.
Ready? Proclamation, School Board of Polk County, Bartow, Florida. Whereas Florida is committed to protecting its most vulnerable and empowering our children to reach their full potential and lead healthy lives, and whereas each of Florida's 4 million children deserves a safe, healthy, and happy home where they are developmentally and educationally on a path to success, and whereas child abuse, neglect, and other adverse child experiences known as ACEs can severely impact a child's lifelong health and well-being, and whereas children who are abused and neglected may suffer physical injuries, emotional and psychological difficulties, and long-term effects of trauma, and whereas most parents in Hardee, Highlands, and Polk counties want to do the best for their children, and whereas most parents in Hardee, Highlands, and Polk counties agree that they can be a better parent when they have support, and whereas research shows that parents and caregivers who have support systems that seek help in times of trouble are more resilient and better able to provide safe environments and nurturing experiences for their children. And whereas during the month of April, Prevent Child Abuse Florida, in collaboration with the Governor's Office of Adoption and Child Protection, the Florida Department of Children and Families, and the Ounce of Prevention Fund of Florida, will implement Pinwheels for Prevention, a statewide campaign promoting awareness of healthy child development, positive parenting practices, and the types of concrete support families needed, the types of concrete support families need within their communities. And whereas we urge all Floridians to engage in activities whose purpose is to strengthen families and communities to provide the optimal environment for healthy child development, now therefore it be resolved, the School Board of Polk County hereby proclaims April 2021 as Child Abuse Prevention Month.
First off, start by saying thank you for having us. On behalf of Heartland for Children and the Polk County Child Abuse Prevention and Permanency Task Force, we truly appreciate the support the school board lends to us. One, by supporting the Community Partnership School. We truly appreciate the community-based approach towards providing supports to those families. So we'd like to recognize the school board, Central Florida Healthcare, the United Way, and Southeastern University for that project. In addition, educators play such a huge role in supporting the needs of our children and our families, and we always like to take these opportunities to stress that while child abuse prevention is everyone's job, you guys do a very large chunk of the work. So we always, just like to say we're thankful for the support and the continued partnership in addressing this throughout our community.
Thank you so much. Yeah. There we go.
Thank you. Next, would Lieutenant Colonel Sean Phelps come forward, Senior Army Instructor at Lake Gibson High, please present the Army Instructor of the Year Award.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Superintendent Byrd for allowing us to do this. We started it last year with the first annual Polk County GRTC Instructor of the Year. And lo and behold, here we are a year later, and the same gentleman is standing to my right. Sergeant First Class Brian Johnson is an instructor at Tenorock. He's an Army instructor over there. He is not just an Army instructor. He gets there early in the morning. He's opening the doors to the school. He's supervising buses unloading. He's coaching football, weightlifting, cross country, you name it. If there's an event going on at Tenorock, it's got his fingerprints all over it. Okay, he's guilty as charged. Right? So it is really my honor. He's not only a great instructor, he's a mentor for the students. He's a great example of a father figure for those students. And most importantly, he's a great friend. So I'm privileged to get to give him this. So I got two things for him. It's the Area 12 Polk County Instructor of the Year Certificate, proudly presented to Sergeant First Class Retired Brian A. Johnson, Tenorock Senior High School, Lakeland, Florida, signed by our superintendent, Ms. Jacqueline Byrd, and myself. My signature is worth a cup of coffee if you have $2. Ms. Bird's might get you something. And then he has this beautiful plaque. It says Sergeant First Class Brian Johnson, Tenorock High School, Army GRTC, Polk County School District GROTC Instructor of the Year for the 2020-21 school year.
You're welcome. And you weren't going to speak today?
What's that long shot, Ms. Bird?
Okay. You're lost for words.
He's
That's,
not shy.
I know, that's hard to believe. The next recipient is not with us this evening. Mr. Wilson, did you want to read the proclamation anyway for them?
I'd be
They're
happy
not
to.
here with us this evening.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Proclamation, School Board of Polk County, Bartow, Florida. Whereas alienating behaviors are often found in high-conflict divorce and custody situations, often causing mental and emotional anguish to children. Whereas parental alienation takes advantage of the suggestibility and dependency of children. And whereas parental alienation deprives children of the right to love and be loved by both parents. And whereas parental alienation is considered harmful to children, as the alienating tactics used on the children are confusing, frightening, and rob children of their sense of security. Whereas professionals agree that the problem of parental alienation exists and is damaging to children and can affect them into adulthood with tragic consequences. And whereas behaviors such as speaking negatively about a parent to or in front of a child can destroy the bond between a loving parent and a child. Whereas with awareness comes education, understanding, and the power to stop the abuse of innocent children caught in the crossfire of the people they love. And whereas society becomes increasingly aware and educated about the problem, more people can deal with it. Whereas Parental Alienation Awareness Month is intended to increase the knowledge and understanding of this problem to help parents and caregivers better raise their children. Now therefore it be resolved, the School Board of Polk County hereby proclaims April 2021 as Parental Alienation Awareness Month.
Thank you. This concludes our special recognitions for this evening.
Thank you, Mrs. Bird. The next item is public comments on agenda items. Is there anyone in the audience tonight who wishes to come forward to speak to an item that is currently on our agenda? If so, I would ask you to please come forward and line up by the side wall there. No, because that's not on the agenda. Okay, seeing none, we shall proceed. Board members, I do? Come on up. Is this for an item on the agenda? Yes, ma'am. Okay, sir, please come forward. State your name, if you would, and your address, and you have 3 minutes to address the board, and if you'd kind of come to the little green box there. There we go, thank you.
My name is John Kevsky. I'm the Executive Vice President of AFME. I'm talking agenda about G28.
Okay.
That's a member that we have possibly termination of on our members, on our custodians. And what I want to speak about is this custodian that she's got injured on the job. She was on workman's comp, and she's been on light duty. And she's been taken off because she already had 2 operations. And because of the severe the pain of the operation, she's been taken off a lot of time, and she has no time on the books. So now, because of the time that she don't have on the books, she's going to be been recommended for termination. I feel that this will give this person a chance to make things right. Transferring this person to another school, I think will help her, because the school that she's in right now, she has a lot of problems, especially with the AP from the school. And it looks like probably gonna wanna hurt her career. And just with that and said, what I'm trying to say with this is, we're working on a case right now, which I can't really get into, but it's this is bringing up a behavior in the past practice of Polk County School Board. It's a case right now that's being investigated of a custodian that he's been supervised by his father in the school, okay? And he's been also OI 52 without pay and never got written up on this. And they even changed his schedule from 8 hours to a 4-hour employee. So, what that reminds me to say is that we need to treat everybody fair across the board. If you're gonna do it for one, you gotta do it for the other ones. And it's a past practice. This is going on for the longest. So I really consider the board members to really look into this young lady that's being recommended for termination. I thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments today. I do appreciate that, and it is so noted.
Amen.
Thank you,
very
sir.
much, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Anyone else? Hi there. If you would state your name and address, and you've got 3 minutes to address the board.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Shelley Peros. I live in Lake Wales, Florida, and I am a teacher for Polk County. I know most of you here. Hello. I am congratulating you on accepting those proclamations I just heard about alienation and child abuse. Not having children have oxygen in proper doses all day long, because I teach immune systems, okay, is child abuse. It is, in fact, alienating those children from getting a proper full education when they test, when they do other things. They can't socially interact correctly without full oxygen. I mean, it's simple. We know the very first thing they tell you in yoga is how you're deep breathing and all of that. You've all heard that. So I implore this school board to recognize the people who are here for obvious reasons. There's hundreds of them in the parking lot having a rally about not wearing masks. Remove this mask mandate. And I am a parliamentarian, so I am going to move that the mask mandate be removed.
Thank you.
I need a second.
Well, thank you very much. We are going to be addressing that at our May 11th workshop. I announced that at the beginning of the meeting. The board needs time to review information that's being gathered to give to us, and we're going to workshop it, and we'll see where it goes. How's that? So thank you.
I really think
Thank you.
it should be handled immediately.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your comments. Okay, any other folks that want to talk about items on the agenda only? Masks will be at the end because it's not on the agenda tonight. Yes, ma'am. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Lisa Burke. I'm from Lake Wells, Florida, 3100 Fast Truck Trail. I did want to go in as my partner for Ask Me and see if you would consider pulling from the consent agenda G28 and at least breaking it down for those certain employees that we're having some issues with for the attendance. So the custodian issue. So before we actually terminated her, I just wanted to bring it back up and make a point about that. Thank you.
At this point, I would not pull it from the consent agenda, but I'm one board member. I don't think you do. Madam Superintendent?
Yes, ma'am, and I'll look at Mr. Bridges, but if you pull the item, you have to pull the entire item from there, and I don't want to disclose everything, but I do know there's some action in HR with that, that's working on that as well. Mr. Bridges, I don't know if you want to comment at all.
The way the agenda is set up, if the item is pulled, the entire item is pulled. Now, there can be a separate vote on one line item of the item, and then the rest of it can be voted for and all in one. But yes, you would have to pull the entire item.
Okay. Ms. Reynolds?
Can you talk a little bit about, there's an appeals process, or no? There's not?
Appeal process for
terminations.
if someone is being terminated, they have a right to due process. They request a hearing, and a hearing is afforded them.
So that would be the process.
Right.
If they're terminated tonight, then they'll go through an appeals process.
Actually, they have an opportunity to request a hearing in advance of the termination. If they have not done that, this may be it.
Thank you, Ms. Reynolds. Mrs. Miller?
I understand that the appeals process is provided before it goes to the board for termination. So maybe we need to do some kind of promotion of what that process is for people who are in this situation, because it's really you're at the end of a crisis without following the steps for appeal.
typically, the Human Resources Department provides a letter to the employee that explains the process and how to request a hearing.
Thank you.
Mrs. Fields?
So, Mr. Bridges or Ms. Byrd, do you all know if an appeal was requested by the employee? Did they request a hearing?
Yes, if they had requested a hearing, then it would have, a hearing officer would have been appointed, and it would have been heard by that hearing officer, and a recommendation would have been brought to you.
So nothing.
I have not seen anything.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Wilson?
So this is included in number 28, recommendation for non-instructional personnel, is that correct?
Yes, G28.
So we'd have to pull the entire thing. But you said we could do a line item.
Right, you can pull item 28 for separate vote, and then you can pull out any line item you wish to have a discussion on and do that. And then someone can make a motion to approve the remainder of the line items, a blanket motion, and you can vote on that.
Ms. Fortney?
I just want to clarify, Mr. Bridges. So we do have the power to look into this specific termination tonight, right here, by pulling the item?
Yes, ma'am. You can pull item G28
And you just
for
need a
separate
motion?
vote, and then when it comes up for discussion, you can pull out whichever line item you wish to and have a conversation about it. And if that's the only line item that you wish to discuss, once that is handled, you can move on and have a motion to approve the remainder of the line items.
So I'm thinking in the times of COVID and the communication issues, and Mrs. Byrd, you said you did not recommend that? To pull it?
Pull in time item because from what I know, and I don't see Ms. Porteous is in the back right now. If there's something you want to have a discussion of, but I do know HR has been involved with this case.
And was that provided in our packet? Because I didn't read all of that.
The details of it?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't think the details are in your packet, no, ma'am.
Okay.
But they can request a hearing, and I'm not sure, I'm like Ms. Bridges, I'm not sure. Have they requested a hearing? Ms. Porteous is saying, shaking her head no.
Yes, typically they're provided the communication about the termination of their employment if they're entitled to a hearing. And they would have a time deadline to do that, and if they don't, they have waived it.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Move
It-
approval of the consent agenda? Is that what you're asking?
We're not there yet. I'm trying to ask about this one line item because there's been a little bit of discussion. Mrs. Fields?
I don't think we have enough information to do anything other than what's been recommended. If Ms. Tedra, Ms. Porteous is in the room and can provide something any different than what we have before us, but, I mean, I don't see how we could do anything any different than what's recommended, because we don't have any more information.
Thank you, Mrs. Fields?
Madam Chair,
Yes,
the information could be confidential as well.
I understand. Thank you for your sensitivity because we are in a public meeting. So, okay, I'm going to move along, and we'll go forward at this point. Any other public comments on agenda items before I leave this point? On agenda item? Yes, ma'am, come forward, please, to the green box. You're welcome. Please state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to address our board.
Thanks. My name is Shanine Sadesky. My address is 1721 Southeast 17th Street, Fort Lauderdale. Drove up today. I'm actually here as a representative of Matter Academy and the entire board, and I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank the review committee, Ms. Candy Amato, and all of you for your consideration. We truly hope to bring a high-performing school to your community, and we hope to have the opportunity to do that. We did want to clarify that while we are a high-performing network and we're high-performing schools that we're replicating, we do service all schools, all students. And we hope to have buses. We have the money to have buses. We will be buying buses. Wanted to clarify that as well. To make sure that every child has the opportunity and access to attend our school. We want to bring those students that are attending from Polk County, outside of this county, back to the community. We are a very financially sound organization, and we look forward to closing the achievement gap among the students we serve and bringing a great choice to your community. So thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you so much for being with us here today, and I hope you feel better soon.
Thank you, thank you. I hope so too. Thanks so much.
Be safe. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we shall proceed. Board members, we now need to approve 4 sets of minutes. The first set of minutes is for the March 9th, 2021 school board meeting. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the March 9th, 2021 school board meeting minutes as printed. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. The second set of minutes is for the March 9th, 2021 work session. Chair will entertain a motion to accept the March 9th, 2021 work session meeting minutes as printed. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. The third set of minutes is for the April 13th, 2021 work session. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the April 13th, 2021 work session meeting minutes as printed. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously. The fourth set of minutes is for the March 9th, 2021 grievance hearing. The chair will entertain a motion to accept the March 9th, 2021 grievance hearing minutes as printed. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously. The next item is the approval of today's consent agenda. The chair will entertain a motion to accept the April 27th, 2021 consent agenda as printed. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Mrs. Miller.
This has come up before with individuals on the consent agenda for termination. I feel for the employees that are in this situation. I don't know if it's the unions or who we can help promote the process to, because sometimes when you get an email with the process, the language is deep and it may not have explained it well. But I want everybody to have their chance to a hearing. We get very few hearings for people who are objecting to the termination, but if that's their goal, then we need to help them understand that before it moves into this stage. So however we can help do that, please make that known, whether it's through maybe ideas with HR or through the unions themselves to promote that process. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller. Any further discussion? Ms. Fortney?
Yeah, I also went back to the first AFSCME representative that spoke, and if we have inequities across the board, certain rules being, followed at one site and not another, that also I would like to have looked into, because that's not how you run a good classroom or a good school.
Thank you for that, Ms. Fortney. Mr. Bridges?
Madam Chair, I was able to speak with Mrs. Porteous. The employee in question received a letter on March the 1st, I believe, March 1st, 2021, signed for it, and was given until March 11th to request a hearing, and the employee did not do so.
Thank you, Mr. Bridges. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously. The next item is the new administrator announcements. Mrs. Byrd, would you please introduce our new administrators today?
With pleasure. First, I'd like to announce Crystal Garassi is appointed as assistant principal at Tenor Rock High School. She was serving as assistant principal at Southside Academy Charter School in Syracuse, New York. So welcome to Crystal. Second, I would like to congratulate and announce Emily Jacques Ousley, and I hope I'm saying that correctly, appointed as assistant principal at Sleepy Hill Elementary. She was serving as acting assistant principal at Sleepy Hill Elementary. That concludes today's new administrators.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Byrd. Okay, board members, next we come to our action agenda, and our first item is board member travel, and the chair will entertain a motion to approve Ms. Fortney's travel to the FSBA conference in June. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you for making the time to attend. Next, we have a contract amendment. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the contract amendment for Action Medical Staffing Incorporated in the amount of $125,000 to increase the original signed contract, which was dated through 6/30 of '21, from $275,000 to $400,000, and extend the contract date through 7/31 of 2021 to cover summer school. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously. The next item is our PEA, Polk Education Association 2020-2021 salary and contract negotiations. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation of the collectively bargained language and the 2020-2021 salaries for teachers, paraeducators, and educational support personnel from July 1st, 2020 through June 30th of 2021. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Is there any discussion? Ms. Fortney?
I would like to encourage everybody to watch my comments at the work session. You know, I'm always going to stand with staff and students, and I will be voting nay.
Thank you, Ms. Fortney. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
So the motion carries with a 6-1 vote. So noted. Thank you. The next area we come to is the superintendent's recommendation on charter applications received on February 1, 2021. At first, we're going to start with Mater Academy Elementary, Davenport. Did you want to discuss your recommendation, or Ms. Amata, or do you want me to move forward?
You may move forward. I think the recommendations were brought to the last work session for the board members.
All right, yes, ma'am. I just wanted to be sure. Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to uphold the superintendent's recommendation to approve Mater Academy Elementary, Davenport. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Ms. Fortney?
Again, I will vote nay because our Charter Application Review Committee voted to deny that application, and I will stick by our staff. Thank you.
No, ma'am. It's the middle that they voted to deny, not the elementary.
I'm so sorry. I apologize, Mater Academy. I will be voting yes.
Okay,
I can read.
it's okay. Okay, so do I have a motion and a second?
So
Did we
moved.
already do that?
Yes.
Okay, So is there any other discussion? Seeing none, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. The next one is, the next school, charter school, is Mater Academy Middle, Davenport. The chair will entertain a motion to uphold the superintendent's recommendation to deny Mater Academy Middle, Davenport. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor?
Madam Chair.
Yes, I'm sorry, Mrs. Miller?
It's hard without the lights that we push.
I know,
I apologize.
I know.
I just want to say that this was explained in our work session, and I believe these schools coming along do want to serve students. But when the applications have gaps or information, we can serve all students, but if we're not funding positions to serve all students, then it's hard for us to agree to that. So I encourage people to watch the work session. There are steps for some of these schools to go ahead and be approved in alternative ways, and that's their privy. But I think the work session and the committee that we have gave really good information, and I think if you haven't seen that, you should go back and watch it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Okay, at this point then, I would like to call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. The next school is Navigator Academy of Leadership High School. The chair will entertain a motion to uphold the superintendent's recommendation to deny Navigator Academy of Leadership High School. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. The next school is Navigator Academy of Leadership Virtual School. The chair will entertain a motion to uphold the superintendent's recommendation to deny Navigator Academy of Leadership Virtual School. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously. The next one is Polk County Acceleration Academy. The chair will entertain a motion to uphold the superintendent's recommendation to deny Polk County Acceleration Academy. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously. Next, we come to the time where we are going to be selecting our superintendent. I have a few formalities to go through before we get started with discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, as we address the selection of our next superintendent, this board will make a decision of great magnitude. Our decision today will have a direct impact on the continued success of Polk County Public Schools. We have an elected duty to represent the public. More importantly, our decision will shape the lives and education of over 100,000 young people and 13,600 employees. With that in mind, our discussions should be open, candid, and guided by what is the best for students and taxpayers that we all serve. To begin with, I will review the superintendent search process. Then the board will discuss, and then we will vote. Then I will provide an overview of the next steps after our selection is made this evening. First, let's review the process that has been followed. The board's formal discussions began on August 25th, 2020, with the board's initial discussion and timeline with our search firm. A pre-search discussion with the FSBA was held September 3rd of 2020. An online community survey questionnaire ran from October 12th to November 12th, and this survey was posted in 3 languages. We had 10 workshops or meetings that were held from August until now, where the superintendent search was an advertised agenda item. We've had 3 community forums, 2 staff forums, and 1 student forum held in October. Advertisements for the position ran from December 4th to January 31st on multiple state and national platforms. We received 52 applications. A Citizens Advisory Committee comprised of 36 members representing a cross-section of our entire community was appointed by the board in January. They met 2 times, plus received training in sunshine law and public records. They recommended 7 applicants that the board should continue to consider. At the board meeting on March 9th, 7 semifinalists were asked to provide responses to 7 questions, some written, some video. At the board meeting on April 13th, 5 finalists were invited to come to Polk County for face-to-face interviews. These interviews were held last week, Wednesday through Friday. The interviews were public meetings, and they aired on our YouTube channel throughout the weekend and right up to the present time. 2 community meet and greets were held Wednesday and Thursday evenings, where citizens could directly ask the finalist questions. On Thursday, a virtual community Meet the Candidates was held via YouTube with over 4,557 citizens viewing them. Citizens submitted questions throughout the day that were asked by one of our consultants that evening. Individual board members interviewed each finalist throughout the day on Friday. Now the board will discuss and vote using the following protocol. We have already heard public input on this agenda item earlier, so now we will have individual board member comments. In the first round, we will start with each board member speaking, and then we will follow with second and third rounds of comments if needed, until all the board members have shared their comments this evening. I would ask that all the board members have a chance to speak before we go on to a second round of comments. At this time, board members, I open it up, and I would like to ask who would like to begin by sharing their thoughts.
Oh, boy. I've been chatty Cathy all day, so here we go. First, we already did our thank yous in the work session. I just want to bring that out because we could be here all night if we had to thank every single person involved in this whole process. I want to go through my personal process and how I came up with my top 2 candidates. I started with a cheat sheet, watching, writing down every single number of the search committee. I saw what they sent us as a finalist. I immediately already had a plan to reach out to all 23 of my school leadership teams. I met with each one of them after the 13th vote to come up with the finalist. That took me 5 days. I took them 2 pieces of paper, my instructional leadership questions. I asked them to look over it as a school and staff and get back with me on what questions they wanted answered and any additional ones. I gave them the actual map of how it was going to roll out so they would have an opportunity to meet and greet them as well. And so when I ask those questions, I can go through, and I might have to do it on the second round, but I graded it just like I would a lab. And I gave it a rubric. And are we supposed to name who we are talking about first now, or do we not do that? I'm just
That is
curious.
totally up to you.
Totally up to Sarah.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So my choice is Frederick Hyde. After numerous conversations with people all over this district, from custodial staff to social workers to community leaders, some of which I see out here, I've reached out and asked for their choice, and it was overwhelming, Mr. Hyde. And if I need to, I would go through and show you the rubric and explain why he is my number one choice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Fortney. Who would like to go next? Ms. Miller?
I'll go next. I'm not nearly as data-driven as Mrs. Fortney is, but I can tell you, watching the community committee meeting, which I don't know if this district's ever had 35 people really invested in the process, and I know we've thanked them, but we should be thanking them again. Also, I mentioned in the work session, for someone, I've been around a long time in the community and watched searches from years and years ago, and I've never seen this kind of qualified candidates down at the end. We have 5 excellent candidates. And I just want to pay homage to what I thought was great about each of them. I have talked to the community. I talked to everyone from bus drivers that may have met these candidates at lunch, to people who are in the community that have real concerns about what the next leadership looks like. But I want to start with Dr. McIntyre, who I think has had a phenomenal career and is economically competitive at the University of Tennessee. I think he's very successful there. I thought his interest in our district was positive. I thought Mr. Ramirez had the most heart and passion of anybody I have ever met. He cares about people. He cares about kids. I thought he was amazing. They use words like relationship building and collaborative teamwork and everything that, really the employees were interested in hearing, values-based leader. He carries his values in a lunchbox, literally, that he goes back and reads to make sure that he's staying on track. I was very inspired by these candidates. I really don't think we could go wrong with any of them. Mr. Border is from Orange County and knows Polk County very well. There was some research done and systems done. His tagline, culture before strategy, culture before strategy. I thought that was an amazing initiative to lead with. His focus on pre-K, his transparency, being at UCF and having post-secondary experience was important. The work he did at Freedom High School was amazing. He turned that entire school around. It was a center school. It had a lot of problems. He did great work there. He worked on building culture, and I thought that was really what we needed. Dr. Towns was amazing. Probably the most fiscally prepared candidate I have ever seen, and really did research on what the needs are in this district, especially from the fiscal setting. She talked about clear as kind, and the communication would be heavy with the board and with employees. She was described to me by people in the community as charismatic, really bringing life, which I thought was really interesting. Equitable resource allocation, we talked about that. Her and I really bonded over a lot of that. Her clear expectations for this district were evident. Building skills and competency in all areas. Dr. Towns has done a lot of work, and it may not have been in a school, but I thought she was very competent in her background. Mr. Hyde, who is soon to be Dr. Hyde, the chairwoman reminded us, if you were in the meeting, if you were in the panel meeting, I'll be very honest, the videos I wasn't nearly as drawn into, but if you were in the panel meeting, just the energy in this room was something I have not, you usually don't get in our meetings. Our meetings are really dull, but you had people wanting to jump out of their seat and like at church, give them the amen on stuff. So the interview was great, but more than anything, talking to people in the community, when people approached them in our district and they said, we'd be happy to work for you, for somebody to say, you don't work for me, we work together. Like, this is things our staff wants to hear. It's something we do, and they want to continue. They want to be a team. They want a collaborative aspect. Building opportunity and respecting, having a leadership balance, being well-informed on front-end communication, which is really hard in a district this size to get information out on the front end, to recognize the growth that we have, but also see it as a challenge, but to be steadfast in honoring Polk's unique concepts of who we have and our unique culture. We are a diverse district. There are 17 municipalities full of amazing people from every walk of life, and that was important that we address that. I think the biggest thing is, this district has great leadership, and we have a lot of places. I would like to keep multiple candidates, but I've been reminded I cannot pass them to be in our cabinet. If you let me, I would be keeping people, right? I can tell you right now, there's a chief of staff on this paper, there's chief financial, there could be a deputy, there's all kinds of cabinet positions in these people. But talking to the community and having lots of coffee and lots of phone calls today and yesterday and over the weekend, talking to the principals, I don't know if they call it a union, but group, talking to teachers' unions and AFSCME, our bus drivers. I had a bus driver just break down on me and say, this candidate asked me how I was doing and asked me how COVID was. And, they just felt moved by this person. And there's no, I'm building somebody up very, very high because there were multiple people that had great responses. And like I said, if you left it to me, I'd offer at least 3 of them positions today. But I also think that Mr. Hyde, who will be getting his doctorate degree, so we can't give him that just yet, he's a sitting superintendent, and I think that was the difference. He's a sitting superintendent that's had experience in the classroom and in administrative roles. If you let me keep the other ones, I will. But that is where I'm at right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller. I appreciate that. Who would like to go next? Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I spent the weekend and all day yesterday and most of last night considering this incredibly important decision for our school district. And early yesterday, as I was thinking through things, I really wanted to wait and hear from my colleagues on the board. But as I went back and reviewed my notes and I replayed both the public and personal interviews in my head over and over and over again, and considered input from the community, sometime yesterday afternoon, my candidate became crystal clear. And then last night, as I again went over my notes and went over my thoughts about the interview process, in my opinion, there is a clear person, a clear individual who will be the best superintendent for this district. Now, to be clear, we were blessed with an exceptional group of candidates, all of whom will be superintendents somewhere sooner than later. Now, notice I didn't say sooner or later. I said sooner than later. These folks are all going to be superintendents somewhere soon. They're all exceptional candidates and could be excellent superintendents for us here in this district. We spent Wednesday and Thursday listening to the candidates. The public heard that. We listened to their attributes. We listened to all the positive things about them. And as I thought about that, any one of these folks has the skill sets to be a superintendent. So my question was, what is their leadership style? I went back and looked through all of the background work that the sheriff's office did, as well as information I had from folks who had reached out to me and from folks I had reached out to. And I came up with a criticism or concern about a leadership style for each of our candidates. And when we had our personal meetings, I pressed them on that. I wanted to make them uncomfortable in that setting because I wanted to see how they would react. And for all the candidates out there, there were no right or wrong answers. It wasn't about the answers. It was about how would they react. Would they be defensive that someone said something negative about them? Would they react positively? Could they stay on point? Would they allow their personal feelings to become involved in the conversation? Would they allow me to take the conversation off point and down a road perhaps we shouldn't go down? Could they reflect and assess on the fly? Could they figure out what was happening and respond on the fly? I mean, anybody can do it after the fact. As you might imagine, all of our candidates responded professionally, as one would expect a superintendent to do. In a few instances, a couple of candidates did not initially react positively, but recovered and demonstrated an approach consistent with a leadership role commensurate for a superintendent's position. In a few instances, our candidates allowed the conversation to go off point temporarily, but regained control of the conversation and brought it back on point. There were 2 candidates that, in my opinion, responded flawlessly. They managed the situation positively. From my perspective, that indicates that they were not uncomfortable dealing with very difficult situations. They did not allow the conversation to get off point. They remained objective. They did not allow their personal perspectives, their personal feelings to control the conversation or to become a part of the conversation. They were able to reflect and assess on the fly. Superintendent Byrd, you know this. You've dealt with it a lot, and they're going to deal with it too. Is this a situation where someone is upset because of a difficult decision? And can the candidate offer empathy? Or is this the tip of an iceberg that will require a concerted effort to more clearly define and address the issue? That's what I was looking for. These candidates all have unique leadership styles. Some of the candidates proposed approaches that, in my opinion, will not work here in Polk County, at least not initially. But I think all of them are professionals, and I think all of them will adjust. It's not a question of whether they're able to, it's just a question of their learning curve. How long will that take? Will that take a year? Will it take 2 years? They'll get there. The question is how long. There was one candidate that tailored their responses to Polk County and did so with an in-depth understanding of Polk County. So from my perspective, that individual will have the shortest learning curve, and I think that's incredibly important. And lastly, over the course of the past few days, I listened to and I read input from our employees and from our community. I listened carefully because the superintendent is not my superintendent. This superintendent is a superintendent for our district, for our school, for our community. And it was important. That was the most important part, to listen to the community. Putting all those things together, I have a candidate and only one candidate that I'm going to be supporting. Now, I know we talked earlier about the prospect of a consensus, but I would offer this. Well, I'll get to that in just a moment. Oftentimes, especially lately, folks remind me that I'm not getting younger. But there's something to be said for experience. And it's my experience that none of us can really know how someone's going to respond until they're in the seat, right? That's just the way it is. So to reiterate, all of the candidates will be superintendents, in my opinion, somewhere sooner than later. They're all remarkable, remarkable candidates. And I want to say this is the most important thing I can say tonight, and I hope everybody listens and understands this. This should go without saying, and I know my colleagues on the board will understand this. Regardless of who this board selects, I will be fully and completely supportive of that person once they're elected or once they're appointed superintendent. However, I have one person that I'm going to be supporting tonight, and that is Dr. Harold Border. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Very well said. Okay, who would like to go next? Mrs. Fields.
Okay, so I have reviewed, as probably all you have, the videos from each candidate. I looked at the interviews that we did as a group as well. And I reviewed all the answers that they gave us. Some answers stronger with one candidate than others. But as I said earlier today, I think that any one of these candidates could come and they could do a good job for our school district. And I agree with Ms. Miller. I wish that we had 5 positions that we could offer to each of them. So I want to thank them for coming to Polk County and showing us their very best. And even though we can't appoint each of them, they all bring value. And I just want to highlight a few things that kind of stood out with me with each candidate. Every candidate that I asked, are you open to utilizing Superintendent Byrd as you transition and being our new superintendent? And they each said yes. They understand the value, they understand the hard work that Superintendent Byrd and her team have done, and they want to keep the progress that's in place going forward. A couple of the candidates said they are just tickled pink that our school district is so strong, and they are very grateful that if they were to come into our school district, they would not have to spend any time trying to fix something that's all messed up. So I want to commend Superintendent Byrd and her team for that. Mr. Ramirez. One word that describes him is relationship matters. He kept saying that over and over and over again. He has a passion for education, public education. He is a leader of diversity. He looks like many of our students. 38% of our students are Hispanic. I'm sure you all know that. One of the things that he said, similar to Mr. Hyde, was he's not a top-down leader, but he is a we leader, and I like that. And that he would make sure that everyone would have a seat at the table. I love the lunchbox analogy. I really love that, where he talked about how when he's feeling down and out and just wanting to understand why he's doing what he's doing, all he has to do is to go into a lunchbox, pull out a note, pull out a picture, pull out a card, and all at once he is revigorated and he understands why he does what he do. Dr. Towns, she did a good job communicating to a wide range of people. If you noticed her when she was at the community receptions, people were constantly in line wanting to talk to her, and she used her time very well. She has a strong financial background. There's no question about that. She has served as the assistant commissioner in Tennessee appointed by the governor. She oversees the district as the superintendent designee, so she's got that experience that's been afforded her. And I believe that she can influence state policy. And she used a word that was so powerful. She says, I have courage. It's easy to say you have courage, but when you're pushed up against the wall, that's when you know whether or not you really do. And I love that when she said that. And I love her values, and I love the values that Mr. Ramirez referenced as well. Dr. Hyde, he did a good job communicating to a wide range of people as well. Very collaborative. He appeared to be fair, approachable, and data-driven. And he is a sitting superintendent. And again, he was not a me, it's a we. He has experience managing growth, and you all know that we are having to manage growth. And he has experience working with teachers and administrators, and he talks about the value of listening and the importance of rolling up your sleeves and going into the classroom, into the schools. And many of them said the same thing. And he embraces diversity. I don't know if you all realize it or not, but he does embrace diversity, and I won't go any further there. Dr. Border, to me, he's a visionary. He's knowledgeable at all levels. He believes focus should be on the whole child. I love that. Responsible for overseeing 22 high schools. And everything that a superintendent of schools would be doing for the entire school district, he does for 22 high schools. Very impressed with that. He has been prepared to be a superintendent, and I would like to commend Dr. Jenkins for that. She prepared him for that. And he has 24 years in one school district. How amazing. He has worked his way up. And again, he embraces diversity. Dr. McIntyre, he's a former superintendent of a school district. He is the most experienced candidate and clearly did a great job assembling a strong leadership team to accomplish what he did in Tennessee and kept it moving in that direction. Dr. Towns was a part of his team, I mentioned that earlier, and had a chance to develop under his leadership. He has experience working with their state leadership as well. I'm like Mr. Wilson. I came today, I had not made a decision on who I thought would be the better choice. I've listened to many people. I mean, my phone was blowing up today. And last night, text messages coming in, emails coming in. I read the comments that many gave on the website. And it is a very difficult decision to make. I would say my first choice would be Border. My second choice would be Hyde. And my third choice would be Dr. Towns. And I'm done for right now.
Thank you so much, Ms. Fields. Who would like to go next? Ms. Reynolds?
Thank you. Like many of my colleagues have already alluded to, we have a really great, hard decision to make. I'm sure several of you have been in situations where you look at all of the options and say, yeah, I get to pick one. Which one's best of the worst? But that's not the case we have here. We have 5 really, really great candidates, and that seems to be the general consensus of the community. And having people call, everybody says, I'm good with I have 3 that I love. Can we bring all 3? Very few people have been willing to say, yes, this is the one person I want, which is reassuring that we have had a great process and we got the best of the best here to Polk County to meet our community and to interview with us. So just to highlight some of the great things about each of them, Mr. Borders is local to Central Florida. As Ms. Fields alluded to, he's been in his district for a long time, and he's been in one district for over 20 years. He's worked in many capacities. Some of the things he highlighted is that communication is key, and that he believed that the most important things about him were that he was genuine and authentic, and culture came before strategy. Dr. McIntyre has 8 years of experience, superintendent experience in Tennessee in a large district, which I think anyone who has been a superintendent or close to a superintendent, 8 years as superintendent is a long time. They often say that they're kind of like dog years, so every year is like 7. So 8 years in that position is a really, really long time. He has his district in Tennessee, Knox County, is the only large district in Tennessee to earn the status of exemplary district for the state, which is a huge accomplishment, and that was done under his leadership. And I think one of the greatest things that I heard about Mr. McIntyre Dr. McIntyre was in talking to teachers from his district who he's been gone since 2016, and 2 different teachers I talked to said, man, can you get him to come back here? We so miss having both Dr. McIntyre and Dr. Towns as our leaders in Knox County, and we would love to have him back. And that's huge to say about someone once they leave 5 years later. Mr. Ramirez, values leader. He came out, the first things he told us about himself is that he's a values leader. Faith, family, and fun were his 3 core values. He's a lifelong learner. He readily admitted to us that I don't know everything, but I fully intend to surround myself with people who can help me learn all of the things that I need support on. Relationships matter. He must have said that 50 times in his panel interview with us, that relationships matter. He was energetic and charismatic, and I think my favorite answer of the entire interview process was the question about what do you do when you're in a hard situation with a board member or where you have tension and need to solve a matter between each other when there's some sort of dissonance. And his response was big hugs. That was his instinct was that we're a family and I'm gonna hug you. He talked about celebrating people and collaboration and creating heroes for students, that we often point them to people on TV, but we have great people in our community that if we get them into those classrooms, that's who our students need to see, is the people that look like them and came from their community, and get those people to be their heroes. Our high school students should be going into elementary schools and different innovative programs like that. Mr. Hyde. One of the first things that stuck out to me as I was going back over the notes I took was when he talked about a transition plan, he also talked about transitioning out of his current district. And I think that's so crucial when you look at the long game for Polk County, that we don't want somebody that's gonna leave us high and dry and say, all right, I took another job, I'm out of here in 2 weeks. That he had not only a transition plan to come into Polk County, but also was already, he's like, I have somebody in Algonquin that is ready to take over and that I've been training and building that talent pipeline to make sure that Polk would be sustainable in the future, long past when he would be here. He talked a lot about individualizing experiences at the student level for every student, making sure that students had access to what they needed, not necessarily what the whole class needed. He talked about reading and the extra period of reading being like yelling louder at someone who can't hear you to begin with, and how we need to truly infiltrate reading into everything we do and find ways that we can reach the kids who aren't as great at reading in a way that means something to them and in a way that's going to get them to want to love to read. He said many times, as many of my colleagues have alluded to, it's not me, it's we. I think he corrected probably everyone in the building that it's not about him, it's truly about the group. He mentioned that people aren't frustrated by the decisions being made, but the lack of information surrounding the decisions and how important transparency was in every decision we make. Whether or not somebody agrees with you, as long as they have all of the information and can at least see your point of view. He talked a lot about the strategic plan and implementing a new strategic plan or revising our strategic plan as it's coming up on its 5-year period. He has great turnaround experience, which we know in Polk is something that we need. We have several schools that are currently in turnaround, and we need someone that can continue the great work that Superintendent Byrd has done regarding turnaround schools. He talked a lot about opportunities for staff to grow and to learn, not just your teachers or your paras, but your district level, building that talent pipeline at every level so that we have people in Polk that are ready to lead when the time comes. And the last thing that Mr. Hyde spoke about was ensuring that the diploma means something, which I know in talking to school-based leaders is really important to a lot of them, that we're not just getting kids out of the system, that we're truly getting them a diploma, that they have learned something and they are leaving us better than they came to us. And then Dr. Towns. She shared her personal testimony in the beginning, and it was, I think, probably one of the greatest testimonies I've heard for an educational leader that is trying to elaborate on the fact that every student can succeed. They just need someone to find the potential in him or her. She started way behind and had 2 teachers that changed the trajectory of her life in 2nd and 3rd grade, that she went from being well behind and in speech therapy to skipping a grade in 4th grade because they found that she was a diamond in the rough. She just needed to be dusted off a little bit. She is easily one of the smartest and most well-read women I have ever met in my entire life. The statistics that she can throw out at you were beyond impressive to me. There were some things that I went up home afterwards and was looking up that, is that really true? But she took the time to do her homework, and she learned Polk County. For someone that's not from Florida, she knew what was coming with the best standards, what was happening in Tallahassee, what challenges we were facing in Florida education. She talked a lot about communication and that clear is kind, and the clearer your communication can be, the kinder it comes across. She talked about building trust throughout Polk County, that it's not something that you just get on day one, that it's something that she realized that you have to earn with your teachers, with your staff, with your constituents, with the families and communities in our area. She talked about how culture reflects values, and understanding the local challenges. Her first job was picking peaches in Georgia, and just how we have different cultures and different environments throughout Polk County, and that every one of those is important to our community. She is extremely financially savvy, has an incredible background in finance and business and human resources. And one of the things she talked quite a bit about in her finance interview was getting rid of the jargon and making it where people could understand our budget who aren't from the finance world. She talked a great deal about one of our biggest challenges being mental health, well before the pandemic, but even more so now with everything that's gone on in the past year, how our kids are handling it and how our staff is handling it. She talked about sustainability for the future, getting teachers and students involved with teachers' cabinets. And one of the favorite things that she said, which came from her video, was that her plan is to come in and listen, learn, and lead, which I think is so important to start with listening, especially as they're getting to know our community. So all of our individual candidates had great things. Like Ms. Fields, I have tried to keep an open mind, realizing that this is a board decision. It's not a Sarah Beth Reynolds decision, and it's our community's superintendent. But that being said, I would say that my top 3 choices would be Towns, Hyde, and McIntyre.
Thank you, Ms. Reynolds. Dr. Allen, are you ready?
Sure.
Okay.
Man, the anticipation is so hard. I feel like I'm watching this film and I'm waiting for the climax of the story to reach. It's so good. We've had in my mind, five outside consultants that have come in and looked at our district in really, really deep ways. I mean, you can't even pay for that. I mean, it's priceless. And I stepped away from that, and what I heard is we are not in crisis, and we are ready. This thing is steady, it is stable, and we're ready to move it forward. So that was very affirming to hear. Superintendent Byrd, thank you for guiding this ship. Thank you, thank you. So, we're seeking a candidate that reflects the makeup of our community, a candidate that's going to connect with our unique landscape. Yet, we want these credentials that, in my mind, is going to inspire hope for us and our students. For me, as a board member, I want to learn, I want to grow, to serve. So, it was so good, so rich with information. From a transparency standpoint, my one-on-ones, and I remember our consultant saying, you may change your mind going into that one-on-one. That was quite fascinating. So my one-on-one questions dealt with the recent impasse hearing. For me, as the most recent board member, that was the hardest decision I had to make. So I wanted to hear how they would process through that. Staff, teacher morale. Where are they at on that? So how each finalist plans to fill empty seats at the cabinet level. Man, over and over we're hearing this is one unique opportunity. I don't think, I don't know, I had to talk to Andrea Messina, but to have that many cabinet level positions open, that's pretty awesome. So wanted to hear how they're going to fill those roles because we've got some talented people in our district. The opt-in and opt-out scenario we have coming based on the executive order. Just want to hear their thought process on that. What their vision was for our superintendent regional structure, principal placement strategies, and so forth. So I just wanted to have a conversation with things that I've just been listening and observing and watching. Wanted to hear how they were going to respond to that. So I'm just going to go in that nice structured order and start with Dr. Border. He brings an extensive level of experience at all levels. With that experience, he's committed 24 years to one school system. What dedication? Just shows how many levels that he's had within his time there in Orange County. His attention to finding opportunities to reduce spending. That resonated with me. I appreciate his attention to culture. He comes from a district where he noted there was 100 different languages. I liked this conversation around conflict. That's important to me because sometimes, we like to observe conflict, but we don't want to be involved in that conflict. But conflict is natural. It does drive us to those deeper levels of communication. So I appreciate that about him as well. He had a good sense of database decisions. And then I thought he had a good sense of training our next leaders. Transitioning to Dr. McIntyre, probably the most experienced person at the table. I mean, we've heard the credentials over and over again. And it's definitely something to aspire to. That's our leader. He's one of the 2 finalists that actually have time in that top seat. He's got multi-district experience. That stuck out to me. With that much time in a superintendent's seat, he's not riding on the coattails of someone else's experiences. I mean, he's built it and he's sustained it. And then leading them to an exemplary district, that speaks volumes to his experience and him as a leader. I appreciate, those one phrases or one words that, Lori Cunningham asked from each candidate. So his stuck out to me, student-centeredness, right? I mean, how do they distill all these big thoughts that they have into that one phrase? Always wanted them maybe to describe that in like an automobile or something, so then I can maybe think about that one. But his experience as a classroom leader, operations of finance, strong professional development perspectives, his legislative appeal is like no other of our candidates. I mean, he was called on to testify within the legislative session on multiple occasions, and then all the way up to the federal level. So if we want someone that's going to have a direct impact at the state level, he's our choice. And I mean, that's what we have to decide. But what's unique about him, for me personally, is I think that he can get down to that classroom level. A quick story, I know, I've been at Florida Southern for 9 years, and when we moved into a house that was owned by the college, I remember going to an event, and the president was at the door shaking everybody's hand. And as I go in, she's like, "Hey, how do you like that house?" And I'm like, wait. And stepped away from that. Like, her attention to detail all the way down to the level here tells that, for me, McIntyre has this high level, but can also get down here with us. And I appreciated that about him, and I felt that with my time with him, and just watching and listening and seeing how he interacts with individuals. That actually reminded me of Superintendent Byrd's ability to connect at so many different levels around our district. Mr. Ramirez, I know you're watching probably, I don't know, but his relational ability is top notch. We were able to connect with him one-on-one in so many different levels. Come on, he's a hugger. I mean, that goes well for me. Every night my son wants to wait for Jill and I to settle down in our bed, and then comes and gives us a hug before bed. I kept him up pretty late before he came in to hug me last night. We had a lot on our minds and our plates. But those values align with me. For me, his student success planning resonated. He does that so well. And I liked his multi-district experience as well, being in Denver. He's got a fresh perspective as well. Mr. Hyde, he's again one of two of our candidates that have actually served in that superintendent seat. He worked within the Florida DOE, and that actually appealed to me. So he's got that nice state level experience as well. His energy and passion spoke volumes. I had the very last slot for interview, very end of the day on Friday, and he was the one. And I don't know if you followed my social at all, but I had a Twister game and Candyland. I wanted to know which one they would choose during our one-on-one. We did not play Twister, by the way. But man, he came into that time with so much energy. I'm like, who are you? I mean, how can you at the very end, bookend of your time, bring that same energy across the board? That was appealing to me. Thanks for your professionalism, Mr. Hyde. I think his attention to having a high-functioning board with a unified vision appealed to me. He's an excellent communicator. I thought he was approachable. He seems to demonstrate compassion and empathy. I think his data-driven decisions, I think it's healthy. And as an at-risk student during my high school years, I think his Dream Academy model appealed to me as it relates to students in our district as well. Dr. Towns, my one-on-one conversation was excellent with you. It was so conversational. Just really appreciated that. My first question dealt with the recent impasse. I mean, her ability to digest our numbers and propose an alternative, it just showed me what she had poured into to give us, as board members, ideas, alternatives. Really, it really appealed to me. She is so intelligent, probably the most researched, as Sarah Beth mentioned, on our district than any finalist. Her credentials are something that our students strive for. I was just listening to Superintendent Byrd talk to a group just the other night, and this challenge to get our students thinking beyond. And I would say Dr. Towns got something. She's got something that we can look beyond towards. Her credentials are probably stand out from all the candidates. I know, those things connected with me as an educator of higher education. She's a vocal champion for her students, particularly those who are underserved historically. I see her as a transparent communicator that believes in accuracy of information and data. So yeah, and again, I think having a superintendent that has already served at the state level would demonstrate credibility around our district and state. So those are my collective thoughts. It's been fascinating to hear where our board lands on this. But for me, I'm going to put 3 out there, and it's going to go Hyde, Towns, and McIntyre.
Thank you, Dr. Allen. And now I'd like to just spend a few minutes and give you my thoughts and my perspective. And I'm going to kind of go in the order in which they kind of came to Polk County in our numerical fashion that was on our sheet. So I'm going to begin with Dr. Harold Border. Dr. Border was a science teacher, a dean, a principal, and then was tapped for progressively responsible positions, serving 24 years in one school district. This speaks volumes to me. He has built systems and capacities for school success, which have been sustained. Dr. Border believes that, and I quote, "Demography does not mean destiny," unquote, and has proven experience in turnaround schools. He owns the data and indicated that accountability starts and ends with him every day. Dr. Border believes in a psychological, positive growth mindset and understands that social emotional learning must take place. Next, I'd like to speak about Dr. James McIntyre. Dr. McIntyre has served as a superintendent of schools for 8 years, and more recently is in charge of the Center for Educational Leadership aimed at executives and principals. He feels called back to impact the lives of young people. Dr. McIntyre focuses on being, quote unquote, student-centered, first, foremost, and always, he said. He has a proven track record in increasing learning outcomes, evidenced by the substantial increase in graduation rates and narrowing the achievement gap. He has worked to have good relationships with policymakers at local, state, and national level. Dr. McIntyre led his district to become an exemplary district in his state, which only 12 out of 146 districts have achieved. He believes that, and I quote, "For every teaspoon of accountability comes a gallon of support," unquote. Next is Mr. Michael Ramirez. Mr. Ramirez has served as a deputy superintendent for almost 2 years. He believes in the lead to learn and build strong relationships in order to lead with people first. Mr. Ramirez has worked with state legislators to enact a hybrid assessment for his district. He believes that parent involvement is so important so that parents have a voice. Mr. Ramirez believes that communication is key in operating a large district. His strength is in his instructional leadership, and he is a whole child advocate. Dr. Nakia Towns. Dr. Towns has served as deputy superintendent. She began her career in the information technology sector and then moved to the banking industry. Dr. Towns became involved with education as a Chief Accountability Officer and then Assistant Commissioner of Education, and now is a Deputy Superintendent. With her banking background, she has strong financial acumen and solid relationships with community stakeholders. She advocates for a priorities-based budget. Dr. Towns describes herself in one word, excellence, and stated, and I quote, "How you do anything is how you do everything," unquote. She believes that we need to retool, reevaluate, and refine programs with progress monitoring. Dr. Towns believes in advocating for student success and building a high morale and a productive culture. Mr. Frederick Hyde. Mr. Hyde is currently serving as Superintendent of Schools. He has been in the superintendent's position now for 7 years, since 2014. He started as a middle school science teacher, then became an assistant principal, a chief academic officer, and now superintendent of schools. Mr. Hyde also served 2 years as bureau chief of school improvement for the Florida Department of Education. He is a doctoral candidate whose major is leadership in educational administration. Throughout the interview, Mr. Hyde gave examples of proven success in attaining positive student academic performance, resulting in improving the overall graduation rate. He supports diverse, multicultural students and families, and he is bilingual in Spanish. Mr. Hyde shared his hands-on approach when visiting schools and described his servant leadership style as committed. So, all of these candidates are incredible, and I want to thank them tonight for coming to Polk County and learning about us. But at the end of the day, I need to at least select the one who I feel would be the best fit for Polk County Public Schools. And I would rank all 5 given the opportunity, but I'm going to go ahead and give you my top candidate, and that would be Mr. Fred Hyde. And let me tell you why. We have had and been blessed with a superintendent with Mrs. Jackie Bird. She has brought this district through COVID, through a lot of insanity with our legislative bodies, through the changes in the laws. I mean, I could just go on. And she's always maintained her character, her dignity, and her grace through it all. She has brought Polk County Public Schools to a B district. Folks, that's huge. And when I look at the next person that's going to be taken over, it is very important to me that we have somebody, in my opinion, who can lead, who can get their hands dirty, who can go in a classroom, who can talk to children, who can talk to teachers, bus drivers, cafeteria workers, and I'm probably not using all the right titles, but bear with me. Someone who can embrace the diversity that we have in this county. And they're all wonderful candidates, please. And I too believe, while not all of them are going to be superintendent tonight, they will be all superintendents in a short period of time because they're so good. But I would like for us to have the opportunity for a sitting superintendent with a proven academic track record. I also received a tremendous amount, like my colleagues, phone calls, you name it, because folks wanted to tell me what they thought. And I'm going to be very honest, the overwhelming support from the people that took the time to call me was for Mr. Hyde. I also heard from individuals who are our employees who took the time during all of this to say, hey, have you got a minute? Can I tell you what I think? And I said, absolutely. And once again, at the end of the day or the end of the night, it was overwhelming for Mr. Hyde. I also was very impressed that he has implemented the succession planning in his district with a very diverse pipeline to fill positions. As we all know, we have several vacant positions in our cabinet, and I asked all of these individuals and told them that as your board chair, we need to be very careful in coming into the district office and bringing a slew of your own people from wherever you're coming from. And I was assured by all of them, of course, that that would not be the case. So I respect the fact that Mr. Hyde is a data-driven instructional leader, and he gave so many examples throughout the interview. I believe that Dr. Hyde understands the importance of a strategic plan to stay focused. Throughout his interview, throughout his transportation tours, throughout everything, he always uses the word we and not the word me. He understands you've got to be a team. This is not about him, this is not about me, and this is not about this board. It is about the students whom we serve in this beautiful district in Polk County. He worked hard to develop working relationships with legislators. He has also been very involved, and I feel that he would work on those relationships for Polk County Public Schools. I was encouraged to hear him talk about engaging with stakeholders, which is huge. And something that I had not heard before was he individualizes education to each pupil. And he's going to meet them where they are. And to me, that is so important. With the literacy efforts that we have here in Polk County, we need to meet that child where that child is in order to grow the child from the point that they are. And that resonated with me personally. So I think so highly of all of them. I'm like my colleagues. If I could say, Superintendent Byrd, are you going to stay? Let's hire, all these people, and we move forward. So I'm very excited. I know any of them could do the job, but I really feel that Mr. Hyde, and I think I speak for my constituents, at least that reached out to me, that he would be a best fit to lead our school district as the superintendent of Polk County Public Schools. Okay, those are my comments. And so in the process, we talked about this morning that if we wanted to, we could go through and have more comment with the board. We've done round one. Every board member has spoken. So what is the pleasure of the board? Is there anyone that would like to speak? Yes, Mrs. Miller.
We've spent a lot of time on comment. But if my colleagues want to finish comment, that is fine. I would like to make a motion at this point, if that's allowable.
One moment, yes. Is there anybody who would like to make any other comments before we call for a motion? Yes, Mrs. Fields.
I understand the value of everyone being on the same page. And I'll make the comment that I made earlier today in hopes that we would all at least consider. I think for the new superintendent coming in, it would be a good effort on our part if we would all embrace by voting for that person. It is obvious, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know, that we have 4 of our board members who are in support of Mr. Hyde. That's what the paper says. I kept note. So all that I'm saying is that, before we vote, it would send a strong message to the person coming in that we're all in this together, we're a team effort, and we're going to make it work. And the last thing that I would say, one of the things that every candidate said, their biggest issue was COVID and how impactful it was on them trying to figure it all out. And I really feel deep down in my heart that we need to thank our superintendent of schools, Miss Bird, her cabinet, all the staff, the teachers, the cafeteria workers, the janitorial staff, the bus drivers, everybody, clerical. If I miss you, it is not intentional. I really don't know that we understood the pressure that a lot of our staff were under during that time. Because I tell you, a lot of us were working remotely at home. And when we came back, it wasn't like what they had to endure, dealing with possibly getting COVID themselves or risking their families. So, Ms. Jackie and your team, I want to publicly, and I apologize that I did not do this before, but I want to publicly thank you and all the employees who put their lives at risk, who put their families at risk, and their health to keep our school district going. And what an amazing, amazing blessing you guys have been to us. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fields.
And now if Ms. Miller want to make that motion,
She can go.
I
Okay.
enjoy Ms. Fields.
All right.
That was good. Like I said, this is a very difficult decision. There are several people that are very qualified, but I think we've heard it tonight, and we've heard it from our staff. I'd like to make the motion that we offer the contract of Polk County Schools Superintendent to Mr. Frederick Hyde.
Second.
I'm taking notes. So hold on. Okay. The chair has a motion by Mrs. Lisa Miller and a second by Ms. Sarah Beth Reynolds that the board offer the position of superintendent of Polk County Public Schools to Mr. Frederick Hyde and authorize the chairman and council to begin contract negotiations. Is there any discussion? Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I said in the work session today that I would stick by my decision, whatever it was this evening. It's clear that Mr. Hyde will be our next superintendent, I think, based on these discussions. And I've heard Mrs. Fields' appeal, and I appreciate that. So I will be supporting that motion as well.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wilson. Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none, I'd like to call for the vote. All those in favor of offering the position of Superintendent of Polk County Public Schools to Mr. Frederick Hyde, please signify by saying aye. 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 All those opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously. Woo! Congratulations, Mr. Hyde. We look forward to working with you and welcoming you to our family in Polk County, Florida. Now let me just take a few minutes to outline the next steps in the process. The selected finalist will need to satisfactorily complete all pre-employment processes as set forth by Polk County Public Schools and Florida statutes. Contract negotiations will begin. It is within this contract that a starting date and compensation package will be agreed upon. Board members, if you had not have an opportunity to give your suggestions on any contract language to Attorney Bridges, please do so as soon as possible. Once a contract has been tentatively agreed upon, it will come before our board for final approval. We are hoping to have this concluded by the May 11th meeting. Transition plans will be made for working with Superintendent Byrd and for assuming the responsibilities of the Superintendent of Polk County Public Schools. At this time, I would like to take a short recess of this meeting so that I may personally call Mr. Hyde to congratulate him as our new superintendent. So let me recess this meeting for about 5 or 6 minutes, and I'll be right back in just momentarily.
Can we say 10?
We can say 10. Let's say 10 minutes, and we'll be back in. Okay, I'd like to call our board meeting back to order after recess. And I have a surprise. I was able to reach Mr. Hyde in between his board meeting and congratulate him, and I thought it would be really nice if he could say a few words to all of us. So I am calling him now. Told him I would call him back so that everybody could hear. Hey, Mr. Hyde, this is Lori Cunningham with Polk County. Once again, congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'm thrilled. Thank you for all the support, all the kind words. It is an absolute pleasure and honor to have been selected, and I look forward to furthering conversations and to doing the work there in Polk County Public Schools.
Well, we're excited to have you, and I thought I'd have a little bit of fun. You know what they say when championships are won or people win very important races? Where are you going to go, Mr. Hyde?
I'm going to Polk County Public Schools.
Yay! Yay. Well, we're excited that you're going to accept our offer, and I'll be in contact with you. I just thought it would be fun for everyone here, because the room is absolutely full, to be able to hear your voice and the excitement. So
thank you so much. You caught me just in time. A little bit of an emotional roller coaster this afternoon, but thank you.
Yes, and we welcome your beautiful wife, Patty, and your son, and look forward to having them come down. And we thank you for applying, and I think it's going to be a wonderful transition with Mrs. Bird and you, and I'll be hopefully giving you a call soon. But thank you so much, and we look forward to your renewed leadership.
Thank you so much, and thank you again to everyone. It's an amazing community and truly blessed.
All right, sir. You take care. Go back to your meeting, and we'll have to finish our meeting now. So thank you very much. All righty, sir. Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Yay, right?
Yeah.
We did it. Okay. So the next item is our superintendent's report. Mrs. Bird, do you have an update for us today?
I do. Thank you so much. I want to first congratulate Mr. Hyde on being selected as the next superintendent of Polk County School District. Looking forward to working with him, and I'm looking forward to him continuing to move us forward in this county, in the state. So it's very exciting to see that he's going to be joining the team and the family. And I know he's excited. He's ready to roll up his sleeves, work with the dedicated teachers, staff, and community leaders we have here. So again, welcome, Mr. Hyde, to our community. And I look forward to working with you as Polk County. And we say it right here, what a great place to live, work, and play. And you're going to enjoy it each and every day. I also had the pleasure to meet the other candidates. And although they were not selected, I did hear they were top of the top still as I listened to the comments by the board members. And to each of them, I want to say to them, congratulations on making it that far. And I wish you all well on your endeavors as you continue to move forward and become the superintendent of a county very soon, somewhere that you do apply. So congratulations to each of you. The next work session we'll have will be held right here at Jim Miles on May the 11th, 2021. The work session will begin at 12:30 p.m. and followed by the 5 p.m. board meeting. And again, both will be held here at Jim Miles. Because that work session is May the 11th, I would like to wish all the mothers an early Happy Mother's Day to you. So congratulations to each of the candidates that came down to interview for just being successful in that. Congratulations again to Mr. Hyde. That concludes my announcements for this evening.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Bird. Next, we have our attorney's report, which will be given by Mr. Bridges.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My computer has crashed. I'm rebooting. If you would like to start board reports, I'll be happy to deliver that item.
Okay. The next item on our agenda would be our auditor's report, but we do not have a report this evening from Mrs. Matthews. Okay, and then next we do have our board member reports. So who would like to go first? Ms. Fortney?
I want to wish everybody who I read today on the 15 pages of turnover that we had that HR has to keep up with. happy retirement. You have earned it. To our lost employees, for whatever reason, I'm so sorry. Speaking of which, I spoke to an individual today, and I remember we used to do like a grief news email so we know what was going on throughout the district. Because as I was reading these reports today, it became apparent that we had lost staff members that I didn't even know about. And I thought that kind of needed to be addressed, Chair, maybe at a later date, but, you know, instead of depending on word of mouth.
Sure.
Kind of thing. I did have some questions about the administrative contract changes, which I can ask, you know, privately, but our administrators have worked very, 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 very hard. You know, sitting with them, talking with them, I just can't thank mine in District 3 enough. They have been totally open and honest with me, and I totally appreciate them and their staff helping me to determine what our next best step was with the finalist. You know, COVID days, I don't know if we can work on this as a board later, but, you know, we have staff that have lost pay because of mandatory quarantine, and they've used up all their sick time. I just want to put that out there in the public. It is a concern. And, you know, we don't even control the quarantine, and then, you know, that comes from the health department, I guess. So those are all concerns that I would like to put forward for future topics. And then I wanted to congratulate an Auburndale High School kid that I taught, Tyler Brannon. He was a Silver Garland winner.
Aw.
And when I taught him, well, he was a nominee, but he's still a winner. He's always a winner. When I taught him, I would get this in the ledger and put it up in my room and highlight the kids that I had taught. And I guess he took it to heart. But I want to congratulate him. Awesome. Thank you. And all the other nominees and winners. And thank you to the sponsors for doing this. That is a big deal. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Fortney. Who would like to go next? Ms. Fields?
I don't have a report, but I wanted to congratulate and welcome Mr. Hyde to Polk County as our next superintendent of schools, and to thank the finalists for, again, putting themselves out front and everything that involves. And we wish them the very best, and hope that the Lord will bless and keep them. And I want to make sure that we be mindful of the people that's been sitting here for the last few hours, and if we can maybe shorten our reports tonight, that'd be great.
Thank you, Ms. Fields. Ms. Reynolds?
I'll be brief as well. I just thank you to all of our candidates who were here, and to everyone who made last week possible. It truly took a village for our superintendent search, and our community stepped up in a very big way. Congratulations to Mr. Hyde. I can't wait for you to get here and to get started and continuing the great things happening in Polk County. Briefly, a couple of the cool things happening in Polk in the past couple weeks. Last week, in the middle of superintendent search, I got to go over to Winter Haven to be with Leadership Polk for Winter Haven Day, and just talk a little bit about what we were doing with superintendent search, but also what we're doing in the district as a whole, and had a great time getting to answer their questions. On Sunday, I had the opportunity to attend Harrison's Bright Star, which was their musical theater show. They did it outside at a pavilion. It was under a big tent, and it was incredible. Just to see those students get to perform, several of them seniors who this is their last show that they haven't had shows for the past year. It was definitely a tearjerker. A lot of those kids I've known for a very long time, so just getting them to see them on stage one more time was incredible, especially after the year that we've had. And then lastly, I just want to announce, so that you can all put it on your calendars now, that we had our first PEP lip sync meeting this year for 2021, and it will be on November 4th, 2021. That is a Thursday. If you are interested in participating, feel free to come and talk to me. We're always looking for contestants. But again, that will be November 4th, 2021, outside at the Chain of Lake Stadium. And that concludes my report.
Thank you so much, Ms. Reynolds. Ms. Miller?
I just want to highlight a couple of I have the most high schools, yay me. I have 3 traditional high schools, and I have a center school and an adult school that has graduating seniors, and that schedule is out for those people attending those graduations, but I want to highlight 2 of them. Lake Gibson High School, some great things happening here near the end of the year. They are telling me that they have the highest graduation rate of all traditional high schools in Polk County, and they're very proud of that. They still have 22 sections of dual enrollment courses offered on their campus, with 6 career academies and 4 that are nationally credited. Their varsity wrestling has 6 state titles in the past 4 years, and this year they added to that with multiple titles. The Ledger's Polk County Wrestler of the Year, Tristan Bubba Middlebrooks and Brendan Abdon, both won an individual state title and dual team title this year. They are also high honor students. Our athletes are honor students, and we're very proud of that in all of my high schools. Polk County Varsity Soccer Player of the Year is Armando Maldonado, who came from Honduras in 2013. He is now an honor student and our Varsity Soccer Player of the Year. In our varsity football, we had 8 players named to the 6A All-State team. They're also high honors players. We have a junior, Jalen Glover, who has the highest of honors, and he's the Ledger's Offensive Player of the Year. He's also leading Lake Gibson's all-time in rushing yards and touchdowns. On the academic side, Peyton Creel was our Ledger Silver Garland Award winner in vocational technology. She tells her story of being removed from a difficult home earlier in life and has dedicated her cause to helping the homeless. She's also the FFA president, and she plans to get a PhD in plant scientist. Peyton's doing amazing things at Lake Gibson. Lake Gibson has an education academy with the kids, and it won this past weekend at the Florida Future Educators Association Conference, recognized an outstanding chapter, 1st place in the Education Research Project, 2nd place in lesson planning, and 2nd place in video competition. The president of that, Sarah, has won 1st place in public speaking and will be the FFEA student president for the state of Florida next year and all of the state. We're very proud of her. They have 3 Sunshine State Scholars. In 2021, Florida school districts select their top high school juniors in the areas of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics for the Sunshine State Scholars Program, and they're very proud of those 3 students. Kelsey Sloan has a 4.5 GPA. She's a junior and member of our nationally certified health academy, and she's one of those scholars. Ryan likes to joke he's also been nominated as best principal of the year. If everybody knows Ryan Van, you'll understand that one. Over at Auburndale, which these 2 schools, they may compete. They come from similar communities, very community-based schools. A lot of the teachers also went to high school there. They're very excited about what's happening at Auburndale. As of this morning, they have 157 college acceptance with almost $4 million in scholarship offerings just for that high school. It's quite amazing to see that for our students, and this is where I'll let Ms. Fortney throw in public schools.
Just do it better.
Okay.
And I have 9 high schools.
We'll fight later. So the highlights from Auburndale is one child who her mother wanted to point out. She was awarded, I'm not going to say this right, it's from the Coca-Cola company for people that work for Coca-Cola. It's for their children. It's called the Goizieta Foundation. It gives up to $30,000 a year for 4 years. This child has been accepted to University of Florida. She is waitlisted for Harvard, University of Pennsylvania, Princeton, and Georgetown University. She would not be able to attend without this kind of help. So I want to say thank you to Coca-Cola. They're in our community. They're a community partner, and they're supporting our children. And what a phenomenal, with a 4.662 GPA, she wants to dual major in art history and chemistry. Sammy Pruitt, I want to be you when I grow up. That's an amazing feat. I got to be a judge at the FFA Leadership Conference, and I did judge this competition, but there were other judges in the room because Auburndale's Tyler Brannon took 1st place in extemporaneous speaking. That's where the students come in and they have to select a subject, and they get 30 minutes to write a speech. It has to be between 4 and 6 minutes. If they go under or over, they're counted off. They're counted off on hand gestures and how they stand and subject knowledge. It's amazing what these kids can do. I learned about GMOs and how some people, think they're very positive. I learned the other side of marketing. I learned all about climate change. FFA Leadership is probably one of my favorite events to judge in. They also, of course, won 1st place in the county in rabbit judging, 1st place in state nursery and landscaping. There is rabbit judging and landscaping preliminary. also in the county nursery and landscape. These two are very FFA culture, school ag culture, and I'm very proud of these kids. They're doing things I never dreamed at that age. They had their ITV students, which is the television and media students, place third place in the Tampa Museum of Art Young Filmmakers Showcase. This is a typical high school that doesn't have extra programming for filmmaking, and you have this kind of talent. They're winning these awards, which is amazing. Also first place in FFA tractor driving, which I thought was interesting. They have a dance team that won 5th place in the nation for hip hop out of Auburndale. I think that's phenomenal. And two students that placed in the National Scholastic Art Awards. In athletics, they have the FHSAA All Academic Team Girls Golf with a high GPA average of 3.968. Their weightlifting, girls weightlifting average is 3.901. These are our student athletes who not only can keep up, you know, the extensive training to compete in their field, but also win at the academic side, which I think is so important. Their boys basketball team was district champions. Their girls and boys soccer teams were district runner-ups. The girls track and field teams were district champions. And the East County girls tennis champions came from Auburndale, first place singles in the district. The girls weightlifting state champion was Emily Hart. She's the first Polk County female state champion in weightlifting. 14 student athletes qualified for the regional track and field. I'm very proud of Lake Gibson and Auburndale, and I look forward to attending their graduations. Auburndale's is going back onto their field, so we'll be pointing to the lake and singing the alma mater from 100 years ago. I hope that you get to tune in on YouTube, since we have to, because of COVID, they've limited attendance. It's really inspirational to see these kids, so if you watch our social media, you'll get to see the graduations as they happen. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller. Dr. Allen?
Sure.
All right.
I'm just going to keep my comments extremely short because we have a full house and eager to hear from our public. But just a shout out to Mr. Hyde. You've got a unified board with a 7-0 vote. I mean, we're ready for you. So let's go do it. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Dr. Allen. Mr. Wilson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also would like to congratulate and welcome Superintendent Hyde to Polk County. Earlier today, we said thank you to everyone who was involved in the process. It was a community effort, and again, just want to say thank you to everyone who was involved in that. I have two comments about the contract negotiation that I would like to share with the board. One of them is we went through the renegotiation of contracts related to the 20-week severance recommendation or requirement, whatever it is, by the state of Florida, and I hope we would, Mr. Bridges assured me that would be in the contract language. I feel very strongly about that. The other thing is, I hope we would offer a salary commensurate with what Superintendent Byrd had, being respectful of the fact that we have not been able to offer raises appropriate, in my opinion, for our teachers and our staff. And perhaps we could offer an incentive. We've talked about an efficiency audit. Perhaps if we can free up some money there, we can offer an incentive if that's necessary in the negotiation process. But, you know, this range was well beyond, the salary range that we offered is well beyond what I was interested in doing. And I would hope that we would be, again, very sensitive to our employees in that process. So thank you. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wilson. So noted. And Attorney Bridges, do you have that noted?
I do indeed. Thank you,
Okay,
ma'am.
as we begin our process. Okay, I just have a few items. I did a long thank you this afternoon at the work session, so I'm going to do an abridged one, but I still feel it needs to be said here because some folks don't have the opportunity to watch our work sessions, only our board meetings. So I'll be brief. I, too, would like to begin, and our superintendent search has been quite a journey, and we have named tonight our new superintendent, Mr. Fred Hyde, and I know that we're all looking forward to welcoming him to Polk County. I am so very grateful to all of our staff and community volunteers who have helped us through this incredible process. From our student super sleuths helping us to advertise the position, to our community relations department doing videos, brochures, and taking care of all of our broadcast needs, I personally thank you. Kudos to our screening committee made up of 36 individuals from across Polk County community who helped narrow down our applicant pool from 52 to 7 incredible finalists. Next, we conducted in-person interviews, tours, and meet and greets, which involved so much time and talent. Special thanks to the following organizations for your gift of volunteers: Polk County Board of County Commissioners, Polk County History Center, the Polk Museum of Art, Polk Education Foundation, board and staff, Polk Vision, Polk County Public Schools, Lakeland Electric, City of Lakeland, City of Winter Haven, City of Haines City, City of Mulberry, Florida Farm Bureau Federation, Central Florida Media Group, Heartland for Children, and the Winter Haven Chamber of Commerce. In order to provide breakfast, lunch, and dinners during our finalists' in-person interviews, we were so fortunate to have community organizations to sponsor these events. Many thanks to the wonderful sponsors: Polk Association of School-Based Administrators, Polk Vision, Polk Education Association, City of Haines City, Polk County Builders Association Foundation, Polk Education Foundation, Central Florida Development Council, and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, known as ASME. Additionally, I would like to recognize Sheriff Grady Judd and his law enforcement team for their support in providing a complete background history on our finalists. Furthermore, I would like to express my most sincere appreciation to Mrs. Andrea Messina with the Florida School Boards Association. Together with her team of Dr. Bill Vogel and Mr. John Reichert, they were an incredible resource in this process. As our search consultants, they did an amazing job of working with all 7 board members, 36 screening committee members, 52 applicants, 5 finalists, and over 100 staff and volunteers to provide the most comprehensive and thorough superintendent search. Once again, Florida School Boards Association, thank you so very much. And that concludes my comments. The next item on our agenda, this is what everybody's waiting for, is the public comments for items that are not on the agenda. So I have a list of individuals that have signed up to speak today. I also have a list of individuals that have signed up to speak prior to today. So I'm just going to kind of grab the stack and go. Please come forward as I read your name, then state your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to address the board. So I think there are still people outside, am I correct? Or is everyone who's speaking inside? Everybody's inside? Okay, so we don't have to do the line and, okay. We had some plans here. Okay, so let's begin. I'd like to call up Lisa Burke, and after Lisa will be Tara Patton.
My name's Lisa Burke. I live at 3100 Fast Trot Trail, Lake Wells, Florida. First thing I wanted to do was, on my agenda, is thank every one of you for the superintendent search and in letting us be involved in it, and then letting us serve the finalists and get to meet them. And I want to say thank you, Ms. Bird, for the years that you've put up with all of us griping, complaining. You've done a lot. I will hate to see you go. And I'm sure our local somewhat feels the same, because me, it's still big family and you're still in my family. So don't forget me or us. And please, come have fun at the Christmas party. But Mr. Hyde, I look forward, and I want to say congratulations to you, even though you're not here yet. And as you said earlier, yes, it's sitting on the edge of the seat, waiting for you to announce who and vote on our winner. I also would like to say thank you for the considerations, Lynn, when you bring up the wages, because we are back to the table. We appreciate that very much, to get recognized and to get back to seeing what we can do to make things better for all of our employees. Because we do need livable wages. We do need to keep people. Because this job should be something we're proud of. Polk County Public Schools is a place to work and should be proud. And we should, like I've said before, none of us want to work. But we should at least enjoy at least going in and seeing Miss Lisa, Miss Lori, you. We should say, hey, how are you today? And it's family and community. And that was the main thing about the super search, community involvement. We appreciate that. I also want to shout out to, as our local has, our former president is retiring this month. Sorry. She'll be leaving it. The year is coming to an end, and it's getting sad because the kids all go over to the next year. So, Larry Milhorn, shout out to you for everything you've done for ASME. Happy birthday, and enjoy your retirement, because I'm still a long way off. But we're here, and we want to discuss things with you, share who we are, so you see everybody who actually works for you. All your food nutritionists, your custodians, everything. But we want to say thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you so much. Ms. Tara Patton? I think you probably have heard me. Please state your name and address, and then you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. My name is Tara Patton. My address is 4060 South Canberra Loop in Inverness, Florida. That's right. I came a long way to speak with you all this evening. Some people that I love very much live in this county and attend Polk County schools. And I am so grateful for the opportunity to not only hear all the awesome stuff you guys have going on. I didn't even know tractor championships was a thing. But I tell you what, I learned a lot so far. But I'm really grateful for the opportunity to ask you to put removing the mask mandates on the agenda for the May 11th meeting. Because as I mentioned, people that I care about a lot attend school here in Polk County, and they are suffering because of having to wear these masks all day long. In no other place but these schools are children subjected to this level of masking and mask policing and shaming, not only by the teachers but by the other students. While we were waiting to come in tonight, I actually had the opportunity to talk to a couple of teachers who were standing outside, and I asked them, what do you guys think about these masks all the time? They said, well, we've kind of gotten used to it. The hardest part is having to constantly tell the kids to pull it up over their nose and to put it back on. And one of the questions I want to ask is, even if we do get the choice, which most people are saying in the fall or even the summer, people will remove the mask mandates and the kids will have a choice. But is it too late? Is it too late already? Do kids feel safe without a mask? Because we've spent all this time indoctrinating them to put their mask up over their nose. But the thing that concerns me the most is even medical professionals know that a mask is only good for about 30 minutes in a sterile environment. And small children especially do not have that knowledge or wisdom to really sanitarily use a mask, especially for the whole day. So I think it's really important. This is not just about mask mandates or mental health or our next generation. And as you'll hear from some more people that actually live in this county, this is about freedom. This is about the freedom to choose. And this is about history. This is not the first time these things have been put into place. But I really want to take this opportunity to say, what is our next generation going to see all of us do now? So I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to step up here and say, that we all have the power to raise a voice and say, hey, this isn't right. And I know a lot of people say, I don't like wearing the mask and this and that, but really, what are the long-term effects of it? And I think that's really what we need to take into consideration and why I think it should be moved up to the May 11th agenda so that we don't have to continue to torture the children, especially in PE classes. One of the things that hit me the other day, and I know I only have 20 seconds left, was I was sitting in a restaurant. And as most of you know, when we go in restaurants, we wear the mask until we get to the table, and I'm all about following the rules. I follow the rules. But right now, we want to change them. And you wouldn't expect people to shovel food under their mask at a restaurant, right? So why do we expect kids to sit through school all day without showing their faces? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Patton. Mr. Douglas Richards?
My name is Douglas Richards, 2412 Island Oaks West of Lakeland, Florida. So I'm an expert in auto collision repair. I'm the former career and technical teacher that led the automotive collision repair and refinishing program at Travis Technical College in Lakeland, currently known as Automotive Collision Technology. In said program, I was required to first teach safety and the use of personal protective equipment in accordance with the Florida curriculum frameworks. To quote directly from your own frameworks, every course description is as follows. The Automotive Collision Paint and Refinishing Assistant courses prepare students for entry into the automotive collision and repair industry. Students study safety precautions, spray gun and related equipment operation, and surface preparation. For every task in automotive collision paint and refinishing assistant courses, the following safety requirements must be strictly enforced. Comply with personal and environmental safety practices associated with clothing and the use of gloves, respiratory protection, eye protection, and the such. Now, a small sample of those are included in Framework Standard Numbers 04.02, which states, identify safety and personal health hazards according to OSHA guidelines and the federal law as recorded in 29 CFR-1910.12, and in your frameworks, section 4.04, which states, select and use NEOSH-approved air purifying respirator, inspect condition and ensure fit and operation, perform proper maintenance in accordance with OSHA regulation 1910.134 and applicable state and local regulation. The very purpose of 29-CFR-1910.12 is to ensure that information concerning classified hazards is transmitted to employers and employees. Where it concerns the biohazard of COVID-19, the Polk County School Board has failed miserably by conveying, applying, and enforcing misinformation about personal protective equipment in this school district. It is my intent today to reconcile these errors and convince this board to reconsider its position that plagues our district with a false sense of security from the use of facial masks. You have heard many reports that various types of medical doctors and virologists making a broad statement about the effectiveness in the use of N95 masks, stating that N95 masks are 95% efficiency at blocking particles. Unfortunately, the full statement of the standard of reputable manufacturers and the federal agencies such as NEOSH and OSHA state that N95 masks are 95% efficient at blocking particles in excess of 0.3 microns in size or larger. This is important because the coronavirus measures in at a maximum of 0.125 microns, which is less than half the size of the N95 mask.
Sure, go ahead and finish, sir.
This is the equivalent to shooting a volleyball through a basketball net and expecting it not to pass through the hoop. This is what happens when you take advice from people who claim to be authorities in an industry which is not their own. Medical doctors never have been nor ever will be experts in the field of personal protective equipment. This is the industry and field of physicists and engineers. Medical doctors and virologists may be able to offer us the statistical data that could confirm the effectiveness as indicated by the physicists and engineers. But the physical characteristics and abilities of such equipment is a field outside of their expertise. I am not claiming to be a physicist or an engineer myself.
Can you wrap up, sir, please?
I have the information, but I try to read faster. It's just a second page.
You're only at the beginning of the second page, so, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Somebody else want to stand up and read it? Pardon?
Can Linda take his notes?
Right, could you give those to our executive secretary, and she can take that?
Yes.
And make copies and get that to the board?
That would be
Because that's
great,
very
thank you.
valuable information, and I thank you, sir, appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Richards. Next, we'll have Matthew Ager? Sorry if I butchered your name. And after that would be Keith Lightsey.
Hello, everybody. It's Matt Ager, 467 Waterview Drive, Polk City, Florida. I'm a painter at a C1 shop there in Bartow. I'm also executive board member of ASME Local 227. I'm a taxpayer, and I'm also a registered voter. So I'm back. It's amazing. It's been about 18 months. For most of you, not you, Mr. 18 months ago, if any of you remember, I gave the old empty stocking speech about money. We were empty stockings. We didn't get nothing, no money, nothing goes in our stockings. So it's 18 months, and we can't say if the stockings are empty yet, because in 18 months, we have not completed a negotiation cycle. The last salary adjustment we've had was in 2018. It was a 1.5% increase, but since me personally, my wife is on school board insurance, they raised the premium, so technically the last adjustment I got was a pay cut in my take-home pay. It's really tough out there because if you watch the news or you talk to people, the economy's doing great. Money is flowing. COVID money is supposed to be coming in. I've seen a new fleet of Chrysler Pacificas riding down the road. But there's no money for support staff. I'm issued a 1997 Ford Econoline van, and it just makes no sense. And you know, we love you guys. You know, I've talked to a lot of you personally, and everything is great. But for the average worker who goes to work every day, I'm in my white shirt today instead of green, because this is what you see back there, the other two white shirts, that's 3 out of the 5 painters for the repaint crew for the entire county with over 167 facilities. And we've been through COVID, we've been through this year, we have a man retiring in October, and it's great that you guys are talking about the transition period for Ms. Bird. Well, I love you too. But we don't even know if we're gonna get a replacement for a man's retiring. And so the security, the main reason I came was for security, is no longer there. We don't know not only when we're getting cost of living raises, but we haven't even been getting steps or level raises for several years. I refuse to call them levels. A step is a progression. A level is like the water level in the toilet. So that's the way we feel about it. So I just want you guys to keep in mind, when you budget, just like when I do at my house, we take care of what we need to do first, and then we go play with extra money. We don't do what we want to do, and then if there's anything left, take care of our people. I want you to keep that in mind. You have a good night. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Mr. Ager. Mr. Lightsey, come on up.
Good evening, everyone. I know it's been a long day for
Good
y'all. Seen the
evening.
work session. Looked like y'all
It's
had
okay.
a long day, but I appreciate the opportunity tonight. I'm Keith Lightsey, 1625 South Scenic Highway, Frostproof, Florida. I also work out of the C1 shop, maintenance painter. Been here 5 years. Spring break was my 5th year. Again, as my buddy Matthew just said, when I was hired on, it was step raises. 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. I've been here for 5 years. I got one little raise. I don't think it's fair. When you talk to different people, everybody's got a different answer for you. Well, we changed the levels, and as Matt said, I don't agree with that, but that's, you know, it's above my pay grade, is what we always say. Decisions that's made comes right from our board, each and every one of you. You know, you keep hearing, I don't get to listen to all the meetings, all the board meetings, because I do have a life outside of this work, and a lot of us work side jobs just to make ends meet. I also work side work. Sometimes I go after work. I'd say 99.9% of the time on Saturdays, most of the crew works. So you hear reoccur and reoccur and reoccur, and that's what they said. We can't give raises, can't give steps because it's a reoccurring bill. So my question tonight, the guy that I replaced, I believe he retired, he was topped out. The school board was already paying his salary. So where do I fall in? How come the salary was there, but now all of a sudden I'm here? It's not. To me, it don't sound like good budgeting. If you didn't have the money, why would I ever be hired? That would be my question. Some folks say you shouldn't say that to get rid of you. Honestly, I don't think that would happen. I'm not scared. I've worked my whole life. If something happens here, I can guarantee you, by the grace of God, I will work somewhere else. So I'm not afraid of work. As I say, I can lay down right beside it and go to sleep. So that work's not a problem. But the problem is the morale level is so terrible. As he said, the fleet, the pay, the rumor mill just flies. Oh, you're not going to have a job. They're not going to have a job. And you go to thinking, and go to looking around. It's education. I understand if it wasn't for the kids, I wouldn't have a job. If it wasn't for the schools that we have, wasn't for the kids that come here to get their education, none of us would be here. Y'all wouldn't be here. Sometimes I'll be honest. I didn't write a speech. I just go by what's in my heart. I feel that's best just to tell the truth, no matter where it leads. If you always tell the truth, you can never get in trouble. That's what I've told my kids, and that's the way I live my life. So the reason that I'm up here tonight is because I think it's time that the school board looks and realizes that, the work crew, it's time to do something for your crew. I mean, we do feel like we're at the bottom, at the very bottom. Like I said, we got a new superintendent. Mrs. Bird, I don't know where God's going to lead you, but you're in our prayers. I hope and pray that everything goes well for you. We have a new superintendent coming in. It's been said about the budgets and about what his pay is going to be. Well, what I would like to say tonight in my closing remarks to y'all is that I wish that y'all be as enthused with us as you are with a new superintendent coming in, because it would go a long way and show something to all your support staff. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lightsey. Thank you, and very well noted. Mr. Joe? Oh, boy. Congrove? Sorry. I can't read your handwriting, dear. Was I close?
Congrove. There's not too many of them.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's a G.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you guys so much. I've been with the school board. I'm Joe Congrove. I work 6241 Lunwoods Drive in Lakeland. I got with the county about 15 years ago. Loved the job. I'm on the paint crew too. It was kind of like a competition. We had two crews, okay? So we had Monday through Thursday, and then we had Wednesday through Saturday. So there was always kind of like a brotherhood competition, like who was going to get like a letter from the principal sent to the main office, you know what I mean? Like, hey, oh yeah, we got one up on you. Especially the Wednesday through Saturday crew, because sometimes some of the jobs that the Monday through Thursday crew couldn't get done, guess who would take care of it? That Wednesday through Saturday crew took care of it on Saturdays. So we always had a little something extra to hang over their head. Yeah, you guys couldn't do it, but we got the job done. So that was really cool. But now, here lately, you know what I mean, over the years, I approached, I think, the lady over top of the maintenance. In 2017 is when everything started for us. It was like, okay, we got rid of our 410s. We got rid of 2 crews. We went from 20 painters to 4 painters, painting huge schools. We went from going to schools, spending, maybe a month to several months. So now, not only is it inconvenience for, the teachers, the students, and everything else, you know what I mean? You guys sure have had your houses painted and everything else, you know what I mean? So it's always like, oh, make sure the dog stays out of the room while we paint it. Make sure this. Well, now, because we went away from 410s, what's happened now, the stuff that we could do when the kids were, like, out of school at 6 o'clock in the morning, well, we're there between 8 to 3, the prime time when all the schools are there going on. So now, with us taking 410s away from us, now we can't get the jobs done, and we're inconvenienced not only teachers, but also the kids, you know what I mean? We can't keep them out of the paint, this. And the main thing, for 15 years, it was told to me that, hey, the reason we're on 410s, because it saves money. I mean, any businessman would tell you, you know, I don't have to pay for them guys to go from point A to point B every day. We're countywide, so we drive an hour sometimes. So you're talking about saving 2 hours at least per person on that one day. You see what I'm saying? So now, there again, as we approach this summer, we were told that not only we're going to take away 410s away from you again during the summer. We do projects. We don't do service work. We're not there in that school all the time. You know, we stay with that one school. So taking them 410s is not only you guys telling us that, hey, we don't need to save money no more. We got money. And I'm hoping by you saying that, by taking 410s away from us, that we also get to see a good raise this year. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Congrove. Okay, Miss Blair. I think it's Jamie, Miss Jamie Blair. Is she in the audience, Miss Blair? Okay, Miss Dr. Deborah Pavlovich.
I'm Deborah Pavlovich, 4122 El Camino Real East, Lakeland, Florida. And I wanted to represent the people that want to have the mask mandate taken off for the children. And I have a paper, and I don't want to stand here and read it to you, but I will tell you that there are links to articles that say that the science is showing the fallacy and inaccuracies of public health mandates to wear the face masks. And the links for major medical groups are WHO, the World Health Organization, the American Medical Association, the Journal of Pediatrics and Child Health, the New England Journal of Medicine. And it goes on to explain that it's causing problems with the nervous system, which I work at the brainstem. I'm an upper cervical chiropractor. And the British Medical Journal says that the masks don't work. And they talk about hypoxia and how that decreases the immune system response. So the very reason you're having the children wear the mask, it's doing the reverse. And it talks about increased carbon dioxide intake and how that's causing mild cognitive impairment. We've got children we're trying to teach, children who are growing brains, and we're putting masks on their face so that they can't breathe oxygen and they can't expel the carbon dioxide. Talks about the cloth masks not being effective in relative to medical masks. The fact that the masks actually during the day when the children are breathing into them, the cotton or the cloth masks are actually growing more particles, and how it can, there's harmful dyes and chemicals that are in these masks. There's formaldehyde in textiles, and that's giving problems for headaches and other problems with heart rate, thermal stress. And we've got all of this is medical information. When I went to the NIH to try to pull up some of the articles, not available, not available, not available. They don't want you to know the truth. And some of us doctors out there are having to treat these children. And I just want to be one of them that says, I'm going to give this to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pavlovich. And could you give a copy or whatever to our executive secretary, please, to Ms. Linda? Thank you. Next would be Sean Peterson. Is Sean here? Come on forward, sir.
Hey, my name is Sean Peterson. I live at 6315 English Creek Drive. I'm here representing thousands of Polk County parents that are requesting you change the mask mandate to parental choice. After my wife visited our son's school and witnessed an entire PE class wearing masks in 90-degree weather, we launched a petition to find out whether other parents in our county would like to see the mask mandate lifted. We received an overwhelming response, 480 signatures to the petition in 2 hours. Of course, after that, the platform we were using decided to take our petition down, saying it violated community standards, which you've heard that a few times on Facebook. So we decided to continue pursuing the voice of our county's parents. And we began with a social media group that started with 50 people that grew to 9,300 in 3 weeks here in Polk County. And all these people have commented and given their stories about what their kids are going through wearing these masks every day. I've got hundreds of heartbreaking stories from kids all throughout our county that have dealt with, I mean, we had one kid that had MRSA on his face. We have severe respiratory issues. We have rashes, acne, depression, headaches. The list goes on. And unfortunately, our teachers and PE coaches have been tasked with disciplining these kids to keep their masks on at all times, even outside, even during PE, playing. Giving infractions, write-ups, penalizing them for breathing, even when they're outside. These masks are preventing oxygen from entering their growing brains, leading to serious physical complications, and the proof is in those stories. Polk County's COVID-19 resource page has kept us informed on the hospitalization rate for COVID-19, and the stats are, you can look at them now on our website. 730,000 people reside in Polk County, and we have a hospitalization rate of 0.06%, which is very alarming considering, you know, how much we're putting pressure on these kids and the stress on these kids to wear these masks, you know, in the face of hoping they'll keep everybody protected. And on top of that, we have a vaccine that's available to everybody in Polk County, 16 and older, that's 95% effective. So we got kids that are wearing these masks with real physical and mental issues, and we have a 0.06% hospitalization rate with a vaccine that's 95% effective, and we're still forcing our kids to wear these masks. So I'm asking you respectfully, because I really appreciate what you guys do, but I'm asking you that you guys lower this mandate for our kids. You know, you guys have a big job to do. I know I've listened to all the comments that have been made. I know you guys have a tough job, but these kids are, you know, they're trying to learn in an environment that's supposed to be fun. I got 4 kids, and I got a kindergartner that's about to start this year. And I don't want her having to go through school with masks on and see her new teacher with a mask on. I think it's horrible. And all the statistics I just shared with you are real stats. And I think we're not seeing those real stats because we're watching the media, not seeing the real thing. So go to the Polk County site, check it out, real stats there. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Joan Lester? Oh.
Now, to say my address, I never remember my address.
It's okay.
313 Lancelot Drive, Winter Haven, Florida. So my name's Joan Lester, and I did write out just my daughter's story. I have 7 children, so this is just one who deals with the mask mandate that has affected her. So I said, good evening, and thank you for being willing to listen to my child's story. This afternoon, I stand here before you as her voice, the voice of a child left behind. My daughter was diagnosed in 2nd grade with auditory processing disorder and a severe sensory disorder. My daughter fought hard through each year of school. Never was it easy. She was never the kid who was excited to show us her report card. Her sadness of working so hard but never receiving any kind of award due to her grades. She wasn't the AB honor roll student, but working so hard to adapt with her learning disabilities. And with the assistance of her 504 plan, it helped her incredibly to be successful. She was now proud of her grades and her hard-earned GPA. She found a love for school. In 9th grade, she was diagnosed with, once again, a disability that will always be with her, and she will need medication, doctor's visits, and therapy. But she worked through it. Life wasn't easy for us or her, but she did her best and earned a 3.8 GPA. In 2020, my daughter, now a senior, had her whole world changed by not only a virus like most, but the mandatory mask mandate. I remember the many days and nights of tears and anxiety attacks over the feeling of not being able to wear the mask or breathe. We spoke to the school, who immediately informed us e-learning was her only option at this point because there was no excuse, no exceptions for the mask mandate. She tried her hardest, but e-learning wasn't a fit for her as she had issues with this type of learning. She reached out many times to her teachers, who gave us the runaround and did not follow her 504. I remember being so frustrated for her. The stress she was under without feeling she had proper communication or support from her teachers made her feel helpless. As she watched her GPA drop, her anxiety and depression now increased. I felt it was time for a one-on-one with the guidance counselor at our high school to see our options. Once again, for her to attend high school in person was still not an option because of the mandatory mask mandate. We were told to withdraw her before her GPA dropped any further, and to maybe attend the adult learning school because there was less students and they might not require her to wear a mask because of the social distancing. We tried this option, but as hard as she tried, it was still not a fit, and she still could not wear a mask as recommended. My daughter is heartbroken watching her friends take their pictures for graduation, as she has worked so hard all of her school years to be here this year to graduate, to look back and say that all this hard work I have done has paid off. To make this her senior year to be so incredible. She broke down in Walmart the other day walking past the 2021 graduation decorations. This broke my heart. I have our county's motto, no child left behind, but if you have a disability and you cannot comply with something that hinders your ability to breathe and learn, then you are left behind. This isn't okay. She would have been graduating this year with all of her friends if this mask mandate had been choice or even an option with kids with disabilities. What about all the kids who haven't had a voice to stand here and be heard? What about, that's why our story is so important. I just need you to consider that this be choice. I found this last year full of discrimination for people with disabilities, and it isn't okay. Some just can't comply even if they wish to. Trust me, she wished to. Please hear our cries for choice. No one has to stand here again with broken hearts or dreams. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ms. Lester.
And I want to say thank you so much, because my other kids are able to wear masks, not that I agree with it, but they were able to go back to school. And that was awesome that the school did open up the schools and we weren't all stuck with e-learning, because 7 kids at home, e-learning would not have been fun.
Richard Nolte? N-O-L-T-E, okay.
It's Richard E. Nolte II, but I go by Ren because Richard's always sounded like a really old man to me.
Yeah.
So
We'll take that.
1235 Candlewood Drive, Lakeland, Florida. I came to you tonight to speak on behalf of my students. I was really nervous, and I've never spoken in this environment before. I'm a history teacher, so we talk about U.S. government, we talk about U.S. politics, we talk about all of that great stuff, but I was like, you know what, if you guys, we'll take a poll. If you want it optional, I'll go talk on your behalf. They did. I think 95% of my students through double block days want this mask mandate optional. They were super empathetic though. They said, if kids and their parents want to wear the mask, they should be allowed that option, and we won't judge them. But we believe our parents and ourselves will be the best person to decide for us. And I just come to you as a parent and a teacher from this standpoint. I truly believe every parent on the board and every grandparent on the board could make the right decision for their child based on that child's decision. Let our parents be heard. Let our children be heard. When I'm a graduate of Polk County School Board. Some of the best years of my life were spent in the local halls of these schools. These kids aren't getting the same experience anymore. I had to worry about just getting to class on time. They have to worry about if they're walking down the right directional arrow. And I don't teach science, and then I have to explain to them that apparently COVID only moves in one direction. And then I work with ESE students all day, every day. And we went to block schedules because that will be less virus transport throughout the school day. Can you imagine being a learning disabled student in a math or reading class and being told double block math, double block reading, double block science? These kids need a break. They need a break from the mask. They need a break from the block schedule. They need a break from the directional arrows. They need prom. They need homecoming. They need their lives back. They need 8 and 9 kids to eat lunch with them, and they need to learn communication skills that's not available at this time. 19% of male ESE students go to college. 20% of female ESE students go to college. That means for 80% of our students, the last education they will get comes from the public schools. We're taking communication away from them. McDonald's, Home Depot, entry-level positions, are they going to teach them the communication skills necessary? Are they going to teach them to read faces, read expressions? I don't think they will, and I don't think it should be on them. my heart goes out to all the students at this point in time. My own student, 6th grader, social anxiety. I mean, could you imagine you're going to start school and it's a mask year? It was just, a few doctor trips to get him through that first week. My daughter's the same way. These kids used to love school. They're not loving school that much anymore. And I want to finish up really quick with a little story about the hybrid situation. And it's very important to me. The hybrid situation, I believe, was put forward to provide an extra environment for students that didn't want to wear a mask or weren't comfortable wearing a mask. The hybrid situation has cost us quality educators that has dropped faster than our ESE students' grades have, because they weren't prepared to come into the classroom and teach in front of the class, as well as run over to Zoom and teach in front of the students. It's not a natural process. If your house is on fire, you're not going to call a virtual firefighter that's also putting out a real fire, okay? I take my job seriously. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for giving me this time this evening. I know you had an exhaustive search for the new superintendent. We don't want to add any more drama to your plates. We just want our kids to have an option with their face mask in the future. It's our kids, and we'd like to be their voice. So thank you so much for hearing me, and congratulations to Mr. Hyde, and thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Okay, Mr. John Carasguio? Did I? Okay.
My name is John Carasquillo, the Executive Vice President of AFME. My address is 608 Bobcat Lane, Poinciana, Florida. Yes, I travel 1 hour every day to come to work, L7 shop in Lakeland. Okay?
We appreciate you.
I just want to say, our employees are very valuable, the Polk County School Board, every single one of them. Okay, our custodians, starting custodians, food, nutrition, bus drivers, maintenance workers, we're fed up. For being said, by example, the pay, okay? We're losing people because of the pay. The treatment from staff, and what I mean the treatment from staff is principals, higher IEPs, looking at the custodians like they're nobody, okay? I have dealt with a lot of cases like that. Treatment from supervisors, from our own supervisors, because school's got to get done right, and they don't have the time, because we don't have the employees. Treatment from other employees, okay? This is the reason why we're losing employees to better paying jobs. Don't tell the employees how good they're doing and how well we appreciate you. We need to give them raises, okay? Show them that you really appreciate them. Remember, we are still building schools in Polk County. We don't have the employees in hands. Why? Because of the pay, okay? We have supervisors, and I brought these books up. These are 3 contracts that we deal with, okay? And we have supervisors right now working in the schools because we don't have custodians. In our contract, they're not supposed to be working in the schools, okay? But we appreciate them that they're helping out the custodians, but they're not supposed to be doing that, okay? In violation, okay? We are working our employees, overworking our employees to keep them in the system up and running, okay? Look at these things. Let's give employees a raise what they deserve, okay? I'm going to say this again, like I said it last time. Again, we are someone, not just anyone, okay? Just thank every single one of y'all for giving me the opportunity to talk and can take consideration. Jack Bird, I wish you a well retirement, enjoy it, and hope we can deal and work with the new superintendent. I thank every single one of y'all tonight.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Let's see, we have Lee Bryant. Lee Bryant. Okay. Olivia Peterson. Hi.
I'm Olivia Peterson. Do you have to give you my address too?
That's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So I want to thank you guys so much for letting me talk today. I just wanted to share some of my personal experiences and thoughts on wearing my mask every day at school. So, to start things off, not only are these masks a danger to our physical health, but also our mental health as well. So I'm sure we're all familiar with teen depression and how common it is nowadays. But what some people don't know is that for a lot of kids, school is kind of like a safe place for them to go and, you know, escape from conditions at home or however things are. And now that we have our masks and we have to be wearing them all day on our face, they can't go to school and see anybody smiling at them, and they can't see their teachers smiling, and they can't, you know, it's just horrible. They can't breathe. And I can personally back this up because I've never struggled with anything like this. Like, I'm a happy person, but wearing my mask every day at school is such a big burden, and it's really damaging to your mental health. And I mean, imagine those kids who actually do struggle and how it's affecting them every day. It's just awful to even think about. To continue things, so we all know that kids aren't the cleanest people on earth. And what a lot of people want to ignore is that a lot of the younger kids, like, they don't take care, they don't know things, like, and they're switching masks with their friends, and their masks are on the floor, and they're kicked around, and they have to wear them every day on their face, all day long. And they have to learn, like, this is their, you know, their younger school lives is what revolves around their whole life. And if they can't think properly and they can't live normally, then how is that, you know, that's not healthy. The saddest thing about this for me is that I know all these things, and I have to go to school every day knowing that it's affecting me in a bad way, and I can't do anything about it. And so I just wanted to say that, and thank you so much for your time today and letting me talk.
Well, I want to say you're a very, very smart and lovely young lady. I appreciate it coming from a student's perspective. It means a lot to me, and I don't know if this is your first time public speaking, but I thought you did an excellent job expressing how you feel. And I really thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, I have Aaron Ozlewski.
That was pretty good. It's a hard one. My name is Erin Olszewski. I'm a Florida resident. I'm under whistleblower protection, so I'd like not to, I guess, disclose my address.
That's fine.
But I will begin by saying, if Ms. Fortney would just pay attention, I've been watching you. I actually watched you watch Olivia. Actually, you weren't. And I think that this is what you guys are all elected to do, is serve our children. So attention, at least just during this time, is really, really respectful and just important. I'll introduce myself. So I'm a registered nurse in the state of Florida. I'm also an Army veteran. And I am here, I guess, on behalf of the voiceless. When I was in New York as a travel nurse, I went undercover, and I recorded these doctors and nurses essentially murdering patients to get the numbers up. What it became is order followers. And I think that's what we're seeing here, school board to school board to school board across Florida, is order followers. It's easier to just go with the flow. Most of you here are not wearing masks. Some of you are. I would guess that most of you know the truth, that masks are absolutely worthless. I know this as a nurse. If they're not professionally fitted, professionally worn, and by a professional, they're useless. They're actually causing harm. We know this. We know this. There's studies and statistics that prove it. And, you know, you're walking around, we see you in the public. We see you walking around. We see you in groups. We're watching you, just like I was watching you not pay attention to a 13-year-old that was speaking, probably for her first time. I thought that was extremely disrespectful. We cannot have that. We have to be able to have a conversation. You have to be listening to these students, parents, nurses, doctors. Maybe we don't fit the narrative, but that's not okay to discredit us based on that, okay? If we're under an emergency order, which we are, we all know that there's money being shifted through. It's financially, you know, lucrative for you guys to keep these masks on our children, to keep the emergency going, but is it ethical? No. It's not ethical. What happened in these hospitals wasn't ethical, and the same thing is happening in these schools. There's no liability. There needs to be liability if you're going to mandate kids to be wearing masks. I have 3 boys myself, all elementary school age. They know better. You know, they will speak up for themselves. I lost my jobs for speaking out for the voiceless, my patients. All it takes is a few of you to be speaking up, and the rest will follow. I have tons of nurses now that are following me. They're all speaking up. Everyone's saying the same thing. So I guess it's up to you guys. Do you want to stand on the right side of history, or do you want to stand on the wrong side of history? For me, I stand on the right side of history, and I'm going to be the voice for the voiceless. My patients, any of you that want to speak up, I'll help you do that. And all of these children you guys are keeping muzzled in these schools, you are destroying their childhood. Every single one of you has a chance to speak up and do the right thing. So I hope that this kind of sits well with you. If you need to contact me.
Thank you so much. Mary Ann Bowman? Mary Ann Bowman? Okay. Shelley Peros? Shelley Paris, well, I know, but sometimes they do for both. Okay. Nancy Coldine.
Nancy Coldine, 726 Susan Drive in Lakeland, Florida. And it's an honor to work for Polk County Schools. I love kids, and they're always first in my life. And I just wanted to say that there has never been proof that masks work. There's never been any proof. There is proof in some medical journals from Yale, Harvard, some prestigious universities that proves that masks do not work. And this is from Polk County Schools. They were given to all staff before school started, and I wear them faithfully every school day. And they don't filter. They don't filter anything in or out, but they do a good job of holding in our carbon dioxide. And God made us to breathe in oxygen and expel carbon dioxide. And it just opens you up. God forbid if anybody gets bacterial pneumonia, but it's open for bacterial infections. And at my school, we have pre-K, VBK, and of course, K through 5. And it breaks my heart when I see these pre-Kers, and I'm out at the buses with the VBKers, that they have to wear these masks. And it's like, can't we just give our kids oxygen? They need the oxygen to perform well in school. And I see masks all over the campus. I mean, they're just all over. I guess their teachers have to deal with that. I walk the campus for exercise in the afternoon, and there's masks everywhere, every day. And it's like, I do appreciate you letting us have a voice and hearing us on our perspective, trying to teach our kids under the circumstances that we've been given. And believe me, we have a wonderful staff, and we're doing the best that we can, and we just love you all. And I wouldn't work for any other corporation other than Polk County Schools.
Thank you so much, Ms. Coldine. Next, we have Shanine Sadesky. Shanine Sadesky. Let's see. Darnell Landy.
Thank you for letting me speak.
Yes, of course.
Congratulations to Mr. Hines. My name is Darnell Lane. I stay on 1404 Alameda Drive North. I came here today to speak on behalf of the custodians and bus drivers, everybody. I want to just say I was assistant manager for Polk County School Board. I stepped down because I want to be the people voice. Me to be the people voice, I learned the system. I used to have my own business, so I know what to do, checks and balance. So sometimes we don't have checks and balance in what we do. What I'm trying to find out is who all we work for. Polk County School Board, everybody agree? Yes? Yes, we work for Polk County School Board. But we have an entity that's running our school, our part. I can save you money. I know how to get it, and we can make a board to get it. But without a checks and balance, we have a person called Almont. Y'all don't have nobody over y'all buzzing y'all money. So I'm trying to figure out how we pay a person that's in the business to make money. You know what I'm saying? The whole scheme is making money. If I make money, I run the business, I'm gonna make money. I'm gonna keep my business running. So we don't have checks and balances at the custodial level. Then, my first day I went to the office to work, my boss man tell me I'm the biggest SOB around. So I'm trying to figure out who say that. You telling me the people don't matter? You want to run them with threats? So I stepped down just to come on the committees, to get to the committees to see how we can do to make stuff better. So the people are very afraid because they're scared they're going to lose their job. You don't threaten people and tell them they don't have a voice. I train my people just to tell them, because I worked at Publish and they taught us how to be managers. So I want to know, to make people organized. Everybody ain't the same, like the young lady say. You might have somebody different in this area and different in that area. You got to learn how to care to get more work out of them. And I don't understand how we don't get a raise. And it's just, everybody harping on it. I understand they harping on it. But we part of the family too. What I was taught, we're a team. It ain't no I in team. Mm-hmm. So we don't leave no man behind, no woman behind. So when you do the budget and you do everything fair, like I said, I need a check and balance. I don't understand somebody running our business and not in our best interest. So that's what we need to address. It's money on the table. We just got to go get it. We got to understand, do we need somebody to run us, pay for us to do something? No, we don't need that. We need to go ahead and, we don't have the superintendent, don't have nobody running them, and y'all don't have nobody running the teachers, so why we got somebody running us? We need to understand that it's a lot of money on the table to be good. So I'm telling you, you can give us a raise if we do the budget right.
Thank you, Mr. Landy. Okay, Esther Johnson. Is Ms. Johnson in the room? Esther Johnson? Jonathan Riches? Jonathan Riches. Robert, oh boy. Okay. Oh, I love it. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to see you.
Good evening.
Boudreau.
Boudreau.
3911 Old Salem Road, Lakeland, Florida, 33811. I started teaching in Polk County back in 1997. Through those years, there's been several important issues discussed and voted on that I've disagreed with, and more than a few that I've been pleased with. I haven't stood up before this board to be heard all these years because most of those issues were teacher-related. I signed up for this gig and take the lumps of a teaching career because it's the profession I chose. I come to you this evening because this issue of required masks is directly affecting the kids that I've spent my entire life looking out for. Teachers matter. I'm a product of a school system that missed me, but it was the teachers who never let me down. Mr. Cleveland, Miss Haley, Miss Shellnut, each day I walked into the classroom and they were able to read my face and respond accordingly. Most kids wear their struggles on their face and that pain is being covered up with masks. Red flags are being missed and I've seen an extreme rise in anxiety and mental illness in my classroom. Now, saying it's just a mask, get over it, is callous and disconcerting to those adversely affected by long-term mask wearing. It's a thing. Some kids are thriving nonetheless, and God bless them. But so many students hide behind the anonymity that masks offer, and they are more disconnected than ever. I see it every day. I miss seeing smiles in the classrooms and the hallways. A campus just ain't the same without them. Couple that with the crazy amount of quarantine absences students receive for wearing their mask in class, near a positive case. Yeah, this year's been a challenge, hasn't it? It's time to think about how we respond moving forward. On behalf of those who agree with me about this issue of mask choice, who are gathered outside or supporting us from afar, I present to you a poem. In the shadows, there we stood, content with peace and neighborhood, till one day came the raucous sound of masks and vaccines all around. We worked together to protect and serve, did all we could to flatten the curve, but soon our peaceful neighborhood became a place of fear and dread and shame. The neighbors turned their eyes at them who stood there maskless, open chin, and most gave room for freedom. Some wore their mask with pride. Some within that neighborhood started choosing sides, and that's when things got worrisome. For united do we stand, so we stand today for choice before division divides this land. Some schoolhouses are still locked up, the children stuck at home, while school districts like ours are free to learn, mostly breathe, and roam. And so we stand today for choice of mask on behalf of these students. Now please listen to the logic. Let the people choose. Consider all the evidence that doesn't make the news. Let the children share a smile, or let them wear a mask. Give them back their voice and choice. Is that too much to ask? Now, all my students, if I was in my classroom, I'd always say, guys, great minds don't think alike. And what would the response be? They'd say, no, Mr. D, great minds think for themselves. To each of you, I ask, please be the breath of fresh air that these children need at this time. Please vote for mask choice. Thank you.
Thank you. I loved your poem. Are you an English teacher?
I am a history teacher, but I love writing.
Okay. Okay, Robin Dunham? Robin Dunham. Jesse Sweets? Jesse Sweets. Oh, bless your heart. Oh, come on up, sweetheart. Stand in the box for me, that's it, so they can catch her.
In the mid-1700s, British Parliament treated the American colonists unjustly, even after they both agreed America would govern itself. In the same way, our freedoms are being trampled on in local schools as well. I am speaking on behalf of all kids across the nation to have their choices respected and their freedoms upheld. Really, I'd like to speak on behalf of everyone whose medical freedoms are being ignored. Our current local school board and local government are requiring kids to wear masks to school so they prevent the spread of COVID. But in doing so, they are trying to control our daily lives and personal choices we make with our own families and parents. We should be able to make these choices ourselves because people with medical issues such as asthma can be harmed by masks. I have asthma, and when I have a face covering on, I can't concentrate on anything and feel nauseous. Some kids have sensory issues with them. For other kids, masks bother them emotionally. Research shows that psychological damage is being done by wearing and seeing others wear masks. Masks are medical devices and should be medical choices for parents to make for their own kids. Masks aren't even effective at blocking tiny coronavirus particles, like a flea going through a chain-link fence. I'm not saying no one should be kept from wearing masks. If they want to, they can. I just want freedom of choice for everyone. I hope that this message will interest you in our cause so you too can fight for freedom and go on to see a peaceful, free generation. As the former Defense Minister of Israel, Moshe Dayan, said, freedom is the oxygen of the soul. Thank you for your time and have a wonderful day.
Wow, what a great job. Thank you so much. You are such a well-spoken young man. Your folks must be very proud of you, and thank you for being able to come up here before us, as late as it is, and tell us how you feel. You did an awesome job, young man, and thank you so much. Appreciate you, sir. Jonathan Freet. Freed? Jonathan Freet. Daryl Robertson.
Good evening. My name's Daryl Robertson, 169 Browning Circle, Winter Haven, Florida. I'm a bus driver.
Yes, sir.
I'm a member of the ASME Union, and I'm here to speak as far as the broken promises that I've experienced from the Polk County School Board. I started in 2008 as a sub driver after a downturn in the economy, and I made a move to leave a company that I thought was going to be affected by the downturn in the economy, and I left at the wrong time. And through a series of about 10 months of unemployment, I sought employment with the Polk County School Board. I thought, that's a stable kind of job. I can handle that. I already had a CDL license. I'd driven a church bus for years. So I thought, well, let's transition into this. When I got appointed a year after I started, I was told about the step raises, that these are things you can count on. This will increase your pay. This is outside of what we negotiated with a contract. Those disappeared. Polk County School Board hid behind a statement saying that the state allows you to freeze those raises. State allows you to freeze them. It doesn't mean you have to freeze them. You have the choice to make that promise to those people that these step raises are there. They've now disappeared, like the gentleman spoke with earlier. They've now been disappeared, and we call them levels now. Our last negotiation that we had where we got the raise in 2018, somebody decided the great idea, take everybody with 10 years less experience and put them all back at starting pay. That's where I ended up. I have now 11 and a half years experience as an appointed driver, and I'm back at starting pay. Somebody gets hired in off the street, they start as a sub-driver at $10 an hour. Once they get appointed, and we're so desperate for drivers right now, they're getting appointed like this, you go to $13.40 an hour. When you were talking about the new superintendent and the pay for the new superintendent, the salary should be commensurate with the responsibilities that that superintendent's going to have. You want to hear about the responsibilities that I have as a bus driver? I work with a bus driver who just, this morning, I believe it was, as she's trying to drive the bus and be safe and keep her eyes on the road, she's keeping an eye on a student who's in and out of consciousness on her bus. You're asking somebody to do this at $13.40 an hour. When are we going to be good on our promises and quit kicking the can down the road? Those raises need to be a part of the budgeting process. I keep hearing excuses, and it's time for the excuses to end and to step up. You need those bus drivers. You're opening 2 new schools in the Davenport area next year. They're so short of bus drivers right now. It's time for the Polk County School Board to step up and honor some of the promises you've made to people over the years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson. William Nider. William Nider. Bob Nickel. Yes, please. Yes, so they can capture your comments on the microphone.
All right, thank you. Well, one thing about these masks is I can't get my glasses on. My name is Bob Nickel. I live at 1054 Medina Drive in Winter Haven, Florida. And I'll say it's nice to be out. Good evening. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Bob Nickel. I'm an ESE inclusion teacher at Boone Middle School. Before I begin, I don't think she's here tonight. I'd like to give a personal shout out to Miss Porteous for helping me with a situation at the beginning of this school year. I'm happy to announce, by the grace of God and the hands of those He has touched, that my cancer is now in full remission.
Blessings.
One of the things, thank you. One of the things I'll miss most about Miss Bird is her strength. When she makes a decision, she stands by it. She sticks with the facts and the science. She will not be bullied. The board has also done a good job of working with Dr. Jackson and again, making decisions based on science and facts. A few weeks ago, my oncologist cleared me to return to face-to-face teaching. Today, she even cleared me to return to Disney World. So the new superintendent may not be going, but I'm going to Disney World. Both of those decisions were because both the district and Disney require face masks. Today, the CDC greatly relaxed their mask guidelines. Who knows what August will look like? Hopefully, everything will be close to normal, but it's too early to say. Let's wait and follow the science. That said, I love the passion of the rally organizers. 4 years ago, I was one of 750,000 Americans who went to Washington for the Women's March. We were exercising our First Amendment rights. The people here tonight are exercising their First Amendment rights. If I may, I would like to suggest that the organizers of tonight's rally refocus their energy. I suggest that they put forth the same effort towards getting people vaccinated. There are a lot of people who listen to the organizers of tonight's rally. I feel that if these leaders were to begin urging people to get vaccinated, we'd be able to defeat COVID sooner, and then perhaps nobody would have to wear a mask.
Thank you, Mr. Nickel. Next, we have Meredith Human. Meredith Human? Bless your heart. Had I known that, I'd have let you go first. I can't tell from this, so. Oh, so sweet.
Hi, my name's Meredith Human. I live at 2255 Fox Run Lane in Lake Wales, Florida. Sorry, don't mind my phone. I wrote my piece, don't touch anything, please. These are my children. My son will be a kindergartner this year, and my daughter will be in BPK. So I am speaking on behalf of children in the Polk County school system, but more specifically for my children. My name is Meredith Human, and like I said, today I'm here on behalf of my own children. In hopes that my new kindergartner will not have to start school next year hiding his face in a brand new environment. I have been in healthcare for 7 years, specifically in pediatrics for the majority of that time. I'd like to present you guys with some facts on the efficacy of the standard surgical mask against viral and respiratory particles. First, a standard surgical mask does not create a seal around the person who's wearing its face. In fact, this cannot be achieved with a standard surgical mask, thus leaving gaping around the entirety of the mask, allowing for viral particles to enter, making its usage useless to its wearer for the purpose of eliminating transmission of COVID-19. Studies have shown that on normal subjects, the majority of exhaled aerosol particles were less than 300 nanometers, COVID being measured at approximately 100 nanometers, suggesting that if we plan to use face coverings as protection, a more aggressive standard of filtration would be required. In a study conducted by the FDA, it was stated as follows: if worn properly, a face mask is meant to help block large particles. However, the size of droplets created from breathing, talking, and coughing vary among individuals, and the wide variation in penetration levels for droplet and room air particles, which include particles in the same size range of viruses, Emerson, confirms that surgical masks should not be used for respiratory protection. Furthermore, wearing a mask elicits a person to touch their face up to 20 times more often than that of a person without one. Also noted by the CDC, 71% of patients who were confirmed positive with COVID wore a mask continuously, while only 5% of confirmed positive patients did not wear a mask at all. In Polk County, the positivity rate has bounced weekly, anywhere from 6% to a little above 10%. Okay, 2 weeks ago, positivity rate was 6%. Last week, it was 10.28%. Currently, as of today, we're at 8%. Posing the question of the true accuracy in the numbers of those being tested and confirmed positive. In closing, as a mother and a healthcare professional, I ask that you would take a look at the data, listen to the grievances, hear the families, and more importantly, hear our children, and please make mask optional for the 2021-2022 school year. We deserve the right as human beings and as caretakers to take back the freedom of our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Human. Good night, thank you. And Bishop Mincy? Oh, somebody help her. Mr. Bridges? I know. Bishop Mincy, would you like to go ahead and come up? You're our last speaker tonight, while they're caring for the young lady.
Well, it's time to go home. Where's all the preachers? I'm the only pastor that have stood with this board for the last 5 to 7 years. Only pastor that have stood with you all. Congratulations to Mr. Hyde for becoming the new superintendent. We are still in trouble. You all may not want to accept it. People may not want to accept it. COVID is for real. People are dying every day. People want to say this and that and the other. You all got to make a choice like you made tonight about your new leader. You have to make a choice about these children, because somebody's going to be held accountable. Eventually, it's going to come back and knock at your door. COVID been to my house. I had a daughter that had it. My grandchildren been out of school more than one time because of this situation that we deal with in this country, in the United States, in the world. It is for real. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Now, I know I've been branded and I've been put out there as the preacher that say things what he want to say, but I'm the only one come see about you. Where are the other ones? Where are the other ones? All these pastors in Polk County, how many pastors come in except it was a crisis situation? Check it out. Check it out. Think about it. It's sad that all of these are our children. All of these teachers and all of these parents and all of these principals and everybody is working for this district. But where are the preachers? Ask your pastor the next time you see him, Pastor, when you go come and support us at the school board? I pray for you people. I told you all this more than one time. I pray for you people. Every time I pray, I say something to the Lord for each one of you by your name. I call your name. I tell the Lord, remember your family. Because I know all of us are in a peculiar situation. Ain't none of us exempt tonight. We might walk out of here, and the truth be told is that the thing that we get, we don't know where it come from. It could walk in on, we could be sitting here and y'all saying the mask ain't no good and this and the other, but I guarantee you one thing, keep on living, it might walk in your door and tap on your door and carry you out of here, and you won't be a living creature no more. You'll be dead in a cemetery. Your choice is up to all of us. Make your own mind up whether you want to do it or not, but I think what people are saying, yes, children are in a situation they don't understand, but we got to help understand for them. I was brought up by my parent to follow what somebody tell me, because everybody think they know, everybody don't know. That's what we're going on. Everybody think that. Everybody in here got an opinion. Y'all told me that. Somebody told me that. 7 of y'all, and all 7 of y'all got a different opinion. But the truth of the matter is, think about it, you're going to make a decision that's going to affect the lives of 100,000 children. So you got to make the right decision. It may not be popular. People may not vote for you no more, but so what? If you don't ever be a school board member no more, you done been one time.
Thank you, Bishop Mincy. I don't have any other cards for speakers. Yes, Mr. Bridges.
Thank you.
We have to go back to
Yes,
your, I almost
I
forgot.
apologize. My computer and I have an odd relationship. The item we had is to request authority to advertise a public hearing to be held on June 8th during the regularly scheduled board meeting for the renewal contract of the Cypress Junction Montessori School, charter school.
Hang on. Hang on, I gotta find it. I have it. Nope, hold on. Give me a second. This was a long, long meeting. Hold on.
If you'd like, I can
I
read
got
the
it.
motion. You
The
got
chair
it?
will entertain a motion to approve the request to advertise a public hearing to be held on June 8th of 2021 during the regularly scheduled board meeting for the contract renewal, right, of Cypress
Yes, ma'am.
Junction Montessori Incorporated. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, like sign. The motion carries
Thank you, Madam
unanimously.
Chair, and I was going to mention, the word came through that the executive order extending the state of emergency out of the governor's office came through today for an additional 60 days from today's date.
Okay, thank you very much
Yes,
for
ma'am.
letting us know. Okay, there being, the next order of business is adjournment. Board members, there being no further business this evening, this meeting of the Polk County School Board is now adjourned. Thank you.